Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that's Stephen Jensen, and shout out to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. As always, it is August 17th. It is Thursday. We got plenty of wrestling to talk about. Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good, actually. The job has been really bad lately. I've this shoot job. I've been complaining about that quite a bit lately. But after work today, or after we do the Spotlight, I have 9 hours of work, and then I am off for an entire week. I got a bachelor party coming up. We're going to a cabin with some of my boys, my buddies since high school. I'm a groomsman, and it was one of my buddies' weddings coming up, so. We got a cabin rented out like 2 hours away. It's going to be a really good time. And then I've got the whole next week off. I'm going to be going to AEW Collision and Dynamite here in Atlanta. I'll be doing the Spotlight next week out of a hotel room. I'm looking forward to it. So I got a whole week off, kind of reset, get remotivated, recalibrate a little bit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today and this next week coming up. So things are good, man. Just got to get through the rest of the day today without losing my cool too bad at work, pretty much. So how about you, man?
I wish you the best to get through the rest of the day and to enjoy your vacation, your getaway. Don't get into any trouble, please. We need you safe and sound to be on this show moving forward. I'm well. I'm very tired. The kids are back in school. I get up at 6 o'clock now, and so it's a long morning.
Nice. Well, you know what? Before we get into the topics today, I might as well. This kind of all ties in, and I'll give the hardcore viewers, the people who trickle in here early, right as the show is starting. I'll give you all this because this is not a topic today, but it does fit into what I'm kind of talking about here. Just really quickly, I'll just get the elephant in the room, and this way, when people trickle in throughout the show or watch the replay or whatever, we can just be like, it's at the beginning of the show. Just watch the beginning. That's where we talk about this. See, part of my motivation, Jeremy, is like, I'm upset with a lot of the stuff going on at my shoot job. Like, there's a lot of stuff that really upsets me about some of the stuff going on. But like, at the end of the day, I have to think about this. And I'm not even joking about this, Jeremy. I'm not joking at all. Like, there are certain situations where like, I'll be super swamped with work, or my boss just like won't get off my ass about something. And like, it's just like, just feels like it's just never going to end. And I'm just waiting to clock out and just forget about work. And as it's happening though, I'm like, you know what? I started thinking to people I respect, and I'm like, Cody Rhodes, right? Like, do the work. Just do the work. Just do the work. Just put your head down, grind your teeth, and just do the work. And that's how I feel. I'm just like, you know what? I just got to do the work. I got to get the paycheck. I got to do my push-ups, do my sit-ups, eat more healthy. Like, I want to be like the American Nightmare. You know what I mean? And that motivates me massively. And then I also think, I'm like, what don't I want to come across like? I don't want to complain. I don't want to like yell at my boss. I don't want my boss to feel bad. A lot of this isn't really her fault. It's really my company's fault. But even my company, like, I'm not going to just like chew out the person signing my paycheck. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds me. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, so much of the stuff that I want to say, if I actually said it, I would just come off like such a jerk loser that like, it's just not even worth it. I might as well just kind of keep a smile on, let them know I'm kind of upset, but just keep doing a good job. And like on my last audit score and like my job, I got a 97 out of 100%. So I was like, I'm still performing really, I don't even like my job, but I'm performing well, and I'm not complaining to a point where it's becoming a real problem for anybody else. And the reason that I can put myself in check is because I'm just like, just don't be like CM Punk. Just don't be like CM Punk. And I think I can get through things, and it won't bother everybody else. I think the CM Punk stuff is very interesting. We decided to not make it a topic for today's show. And I just wanted to quickly right off the bat just say, if these things are true about like Christopher Daniels can't be on shows when he's part of talent relations because of CM Punk, and the stuff about Ryan Nemeth and all this stuff, that's very interesting to me. Y'all know how I feel about Punk, and all I can really say is like I've been saying this the entire time. Nothing's changed. It's going to keep happening. And I think that Ryan Nemeth, I'm not even a Ryan Nemeth fan. He's actually the main reason I stopped watching BTE. I think he's super unentertaining. Like, I'm not a Nemeth fan, but I think that his tweet was like super accurate, you know, the whole like softest man in the world. Because I'll tell you what, Jeremy, I can't think of anything softer than getting held down and tickled during a fight. So like, I'm just going to put that out there. I just want to get that out there at the beginning of the show. You know, that's my thoughts on CM Punk. You already know how I feel about him, and like it's just the same old. It's the same old Phil over and over and over again. He thinks he's in the right. I think most other people don't agree, but he's, you know, more valuable, quote unquote, than a lot of the people that he's going to be, you know, screwing with. So anyways, that we can just get that out of the way. I've addressed my enemies, and we can move on and actually talk about stuff that has to do with the actual shows that we actually enjoy. And that's that.
That is that. Yeah. For anybody expecting more, I got nothing else to add. Jensen has said his piece, and now
talked about it before the show. Like while we were setting the topics up, we like highly like considered, and I was like, you know, we were both like, you know what? There's a lot of great stuff going on these shows, on the actual wrestling shows. Let's talk about wrestling. So like, you know, because next week it'll be something else with Punk that bothers people. It just is what it is. So if you want to ride or die with the guy, continue to. But I'm also seeing a lot of his hardcore fans now being like, kind of coming around and being like, wait a second, this is kind of weird. Yeah, I know. I've been saying it for about 20 years now. All right, Jeremy, let's talk about some real wrestling.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show. And I think it's been a run of great shows.
Dynamite last night. We got a lot of matches confirmed for AEW All Out or All In. Sorry, we got like nothing confirmed for All Out. There's only like one match confirmed for that show, one participant. But All In, a lot of matches announced. The big ones that we're going to talk about: Will Ospreay against Chris Jericho. This was something that Fightful Select reported like a month or so ago that this was going to happen. And it was set up through Jericho's decision to join the Callis family, but then Callis was not prepared for him to join. And so the painting, shout out to Mel Coleman doing the art there. So the painting was Callis with Jericho's head, severed head, and Callis burying Mel Coleman. Don't appreciate that at all. But so Jericho was like, what is happening? You didn't think I was going to join? And then Callis said like, yeah, well, your ego, of course I didn't expect it. Like I didn't, you know, I don't have time for you now. And then we had Takeshita attack. Jericho kind of fought him off, and then we had Ospreay attack. And then later in the backstage, and you know, Jericho taking chair shots back for the boys, taking painting shots back for the boys. That hadn't been, who did that? Warrior and Lawler did the painting gimmick, I believe. A long time ago.
I know I've definitely seen other people get like that stuff like hit over their heads, like but
Rock and Farouk. I think Farouk just kind of like broke the picture of the Rock. I can't remember if like anybody got hit with it, but Warrior and Lawler was, because that was when Warrior wore the baseball cap, and Lawler was like super mad about that because it like took away the effect of it, of him wearing when he got hit with the painting or the frame, him wearing the baseball cap took away the effect of it. So he got hit with the painting, got hit with the chair shot. And then in the backstage segment, he said, you know, we were supposed to do this in Tokyo Dome. Then the pandemic got in the way. Let's do this at Wembley. Let's do this at All In. And so Chris Jericho, Will Ospreay is official. How you feeling about this segment and this match, Jensen?
The segment was strange for a lot of reasons. Like it was very, you know, and I'll preface this by saying, and everyone knows this, I think Chris Jericho is the GOAT. Like I love Chris Jericho. I'll start with the good. I like that we're getting Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. I know there's going to be plenty of people that are like, Jericho's way too past his prime, or like they're just sick of Jericho, or they've been sick of Jericho in AEW, and they're sick of the JAS, and they were sick of the Inner Circle, and like so on and so forth. But Jericho is still performing at a super high level, especially for somebody who's got as many miles on him as he does and as many years in this company. Like people can say whatever they want. I guess you can all have your own opinions. Obviously, that's fine. But like, I don't think that any like wrestling, like professional wrestling fan could watch something like, for instance, like Jericho versus Ishii from like recently, like, and be like, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that has to, at the very least, you got to be like, okay, that was pretty badass match. Like there's been plenty of those. And with the ROH title and stuff, like he really went out there and like he was having good matches, like, and he still is having good matches. And the reason that I'm highlighting this right now is because you don't really think Will Ospreay isn't going to have an incredible match with Chris Jericho? Like Will Ospreay is probably the best in-ring wrestler in the world right now. And Jericho is still Chris Jericho. So for the actual match, I love it. I believe it was supposed to happen like during the pandemic and like it didn't wind up happening. So like this is a dream match, but the setup for last night was strange from the perspective of like Jericho initially saying like, I don't join groups, I create groups. But you know what? I'm just going to join your group. And I was like, that was weird. And then he was like, it was so easy. Just like, yeah, I'm in. And at first I used to turn to my buddy Mike Hughes and my brother, whoever you're watching. And I was like, they actually just did it. I was like, good. I want him to join the Jericho. I want him to join the Kyle's family. Like this actually just happened. Great. And then like, I realized Jericho wasn't leaving the ring with him right away. And I was like, okay, where's the swerve? And like, is Will Ospreay about to come out? Because that was kind of what I was thinking was like, are we actually going to get Ospreay? And are we Ospreay versus Jericho? So, but everything you just explained also was very weird because like Jericho accepts it. Callis tries to get him out of the ring. And then Callis is like, has that picture of him holding Jericho's head. And all I'm thinking at that point is like, why did you court Jericho to begin with? Like you came to him, like trying to get him to join your new Callis family stable. Like if you didn't want to do that, why would you even do that? If you just thought the answer the entire time was going to be no, and it was going to set up an attack or something, where I guess that's the line of thinking. I think that's the storyline, actual explanation we're going to essentially get is like Callis played Jericho, got him in the right place at the right time. But once again, once Jericho accepted, he was like, oh, cool, let's get out of here. He's in the group. So it's like, all of it was very weird. Jericho like turned heel and face back and forth like within seconds. But once again, that all said, like I love that we are getting Ospreay versus Jericho. So like it is leading to something I like that they're doing. But I don't know. Do you agree with me? Like, wasn't it weird that it was like multiple turns all in one segment, and a lot of the logic behind it just didn't make any sense. But we are getting a match that I want to see.
It was a different way to get there. Because I was wondering how they were going to get there in the first place, and I just figured, I thought Jericho was going to turn him down, and then Ospreay was just going to attack, and that was going to be that. And said, yeah, it was. No, I accept. And then Callis was so stunned by the acceptance, he's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, like in that sense, if you thought he was going to turn it down, why'd you do it? I guess, hey, once you accept it, why wouldn't you want him as part of the group? Like, I understand that he's Chris Jericho. Clearly you thought something of him to even ask him, and he swerved you. It felt like swerves to do swerves. It's like, oh, well, Jericho swerved Callis by getting an agree, and then Callis swerved Jericho by already having this set up. It was a little much. It felt like they could have gotten there a different way, but I think their line of thinking was everyone expects it to be this way of, oh no, I'm just going to turn it down. And then that's how it's going to set it up. We just got to do something different. And it's like, maybe just don't do something different. Just go ahead and just give us the basic setup for this, and it's fine. I know the match will be good. I have no doubt about that. Will Ospreay is, I mean, you called him the best wrestler in the world right now. It's very tough to disagree with that. Like, go back and watch his G1 run. That match with Naito was absolutely outstanding. We talked about the Kenta match last week or either the week before. There was a lot when it comes to Will Ospreay. There's very little holes in his game. Chris Jericho, most of his matches I think have been good. The Adam Cole match was not. That was a bad match on pay-per-view not too long ago. But otherwise, like, he's smart enough to know how to work, and he'll still amp it up for the bigger matches. I think the Cole match was just wrong style of match to that build. And then the Roddy Strong match with Adam Cole or with Chris Jericho did more in that feud than the Adam Cole match when it was supposed to be unsanctioned type of thing. But for the most part, Jericho has more hits than misses. The match will be good. Is it a match that I'm super interested in going into this type of show? Not really. And that's just largely because it is very abrupt. It's an abrupt match. Like, I would not have thought of Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho before Fightful put out the report that this was being planned and considered. I'd be like, wait, huh? They don't really have ties to each other. Like, it came together very quickly, and I know it'll be good, but it's not something that I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, can't wait for this match. Like, this is something that was on my bucket list to see. But
to be
go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say, like, to be fair, like I feel like that about almost the entire card, like the all-in card. Like it's like, it almost feels like we're going to Wembley. We already, without announcing anything, we sold the largest amount of tickets ever, and so it almost feels like they're just putting on like dream matches and just like just like cool just matchups that are like going to be good for the audience, and then like that's going to like help sell All Out a week later. Like, it's weird. It's weird because it's so close together that it almost feels like All In. Like, when you look at the rest of the card, even it's like, these are just weird matchups. But like, I get why they do this in front of so many people. But also with the Jericho and Ospreay stuff, like I think that's like, I see people in the chat that are like, man, like they blew the opportunity with Ospreay. Like, he could wrestle someone else on this show, or like you do the Kenny match again or something like that. And I get all that for sure. But like, y'all, it's still Chris Jericho. Like, I mean, it's gonna be good. Like, him and Ospreay is gonna be good, like Jeremy's saying. So like, just have some faith here. Like, if it sucks, I'll come on here. I'll be the first to admit it if it sucks next week on the show. But like, it's a weird matchup. It doesn't make a lot of sense on paper, especially in AEW, for this match to be happening on this show. But as I keep saying, like, most of this card like is weird. So
yeah, I look at the card and I'm like, oh, all of these matches are gonna be good. Like, that's just the standard now. Every wrestler is basically like average at best. And when you're talking about the AEW talent and top, really even anybody in WWE as well, like, all these matches are going to be good.
Yeah. And so there's history, like why he says in the chat, like, there is history in all these matches, yes, but like there's even more sense we made of, I think, All Out. If you know what I mean, it's just with them being so close together. I think a lot of this is going to set up All Out matches because like none of that's been announced yet. You know what I mean?
And I've said this before on other shows. I may have even said it on this show, is like, they are playing off the totality of history in these matches. These are not matches that have been brewing for months or anything. Like, look at FTR and Young Bucks. I don't think anybody doubts that this is going to be one of the best tag team matches of all time. It could be the match of the night, given the history and the performances of both of these teams, given their previous matches against each other. But a month ago, you would not have thought about an FTR Young Bucks match based on the television product. And that's what I'm talking about. Just the television product. You wouldn't have thought about that match. And now we're getting it. And there's enough history between the two teams where it's like, oh, okay, cool. This is great. We love this. Yeah, they're playing off the totality of history with everything. And that's fine. Honestly, like, I get that. I understand that. Do I wish they would have set up more just on television for some of this stuff? Yes, I do. I do wish that. I do wish we got kind of more blow-off style stuff in this match or on this card. I do wish that as well. And I don't think we're going to fully get that in some of these. Certainly Stadium Stampede, which is going to be my spotlight, that's probably not a blow-off to everything, because at some point we're going to get Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy. We're going to possibly most likely get a Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston. We're definitely going to get an Eddie Kingston, Claudio Castagnoli match. Like, those are the blow-offs to this. This is just a continuation of Blackpool Combat Club and Best Friends. And that's fine. Like, they're playing off, again, totality of history on this. And I'm excited for Stadium Stampede. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be fun. I love basically every wrestler in this match. Like, they're all great. I've said it many times. Jon Moxley, I think, is like the totality of a performer, just overall performance, might be my favorite wrestler of the past few years outside of Danielson. But like, just his matches, his presence, his just everything, his whole package. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers over the past few years. So I know these matches are going to be good. I do wish that there was just a little bit more overall setup to a lot of this stuff. And some of the stuff, like, they can't help. You know, Eddie Kingston did the G1. I guess they could have helped that. They could have denied Eddie Kingston to not do the G1. But Eddie did the G1, so he hasn't been on television. Ospreay did the G1, and they weren't going to deny that. So he wasn't able to be, like, kind of part of television, everything. They're using the overall history, and that's fine. It's going to be a great show. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, this show is awful, it's not going to be good. No, it's going to be an amazing show because all of these wrestlers are amazing wrestlers, and they're going to be put in a position to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, and the motivation behind, I mean, you're going to have 80,000 people live. Like, this is the biggest crowd anyone's ever wrestled in front of. Like, this is going to be a spectacle. It's going to be really, really cool. Speaking of Moxley as well, you know, you saying that he's probably your favorite performer outside of Danielson the last, handful of years or few years. And I think that, I was actually talking to this with some of my friends as well about this. Like, the Elite, obviously I love the Elite, right? And I think that it's humongous for AEW to retain those guys and that they've re-signed them and everything. But like, they do the match, Elite wins Blood and Guts, and they've been like, kind of trickled out throughout the show since then. But like, Moxley is out there like having like either bleeding every week. Like, that parking lot brawl match with Best Friends was great. Yeah. Like, not that long ago, he took he had skewers in his head. You know what I mean? Like, he was doing death matches outside of AEW. So it's like, Jon Moxley, once again, similar to what I was talking about with Jericho earlier, even if you don't like Jon Moxley's in-ring style, you don't like that he bleeds, you don't like his death match wrestling, you don't like the way that he carries himself or, his promo, whatever it is about Jon Moxley. Like, if you don't like Jon Moxley, I can understand certain aspects, but you got to respect the guy. Like, you have to respect the grind that this guy has. And part of me just, really respects the fact that I really feel like he just knows this is a really unique time in wrestling with like the Forbidden Door being like a real thing where he can be a television mainstream wrestling star still on AEW, but has the freedom if he wants to continue to work indie shows. Like, he showed up on a PWG this past weekend and wrestled Titus Alexander. Like, I mean, he doesn't have to do any of this. Like, he didn't have to do any of this after he made enough money in the WWE to just like not do this ever again if he didn't want to. And not only is he not, he's going like twice as hard, in doing the stuff that he loves. I just think it's super cool how much he gives back to the indies, how much he gives back to wrestling in general, and that he's just willing to like, honestly, part of it is probably like, he probably, when he's at home, he's probably the kind of guy who's probably an awesome dad, awesome husband, but he probably gets like crazy just sitting still. I just feel like he's probably the kind of guy who just like, he's at home and he's like, man, he's like, I got to be watching the UFC, or he's got to be like training, or he's got like something like, I feel like his wheels are always spinning. And he's just like, you know what, Renee, I'll be right back. He goes off and does an indie show, comes back.
He went and did a grappling tournament the other week. He just went out and decided to do a grappling tournament.
Yeah, that's badass. Like, I love that. He keeps busy. And he's also a guy that, he's publicly, dealt with addiction and stuff. And I bet this kind of stuff probably helps, like, to be able to be like, dude, I have this whole creative outlet to like not drink. Like, I can go wrestle and do jujitsu and do grappling and go, train in LA with Randy Couture when I want to. And I mean, it's like, I think that's super, super, super respectable. And he's a guy that people really should look up to. Like, honestly, like, if you're a wrestling fan, I think Jon Moxley is a guy who at the very least as a human being, you should be behind. And not to mention all the help he's given to AEW. Him signing with that company was massive when he came in. So he's a true day one AEW guy, So like, so that all said though, like, as you just mentioned, all of these stories are going to carry on into All Out and maybe even farther on. I do think we're going to get Moxley versus Orange Cassidy at All Out. I think we should. And that match is going to rule. Another guy, Orange Cassidy, pre-AEW, everyone was like, Orange Cassidy's a funny comedy wrestler. Like, he had a fan base, but like, this would never work on television. And now, like, he's probably got the most respectable title run in the history of AEW with his international title. Like, it's So there's so much good stuff going on in AEW, and it's just, once again, I have to stress when you look at this AEW All-In card, we also have to keep in mind this thing sold itself without even announcing any matches. So they could really put whatever they wanted on it because the fans were going to be there and people were going to tune in anyways. So like, I think the fact that they still put on all these dream matches or even random matches, and it's going to set up an even bigger show, like in canon, kind of like with All Out. And also, did you want to try to, I know people in the chat were saying it's going to be a topic for us today. We don't know who the Blackpool Combat Clubs members are going to be, their partners, because they're going to be taking on, excuse me, they're going to be taking on, the
Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, Penta and Phoenix, and Eddie Kingston.
Eddie, right, that's right. Sorry, I had to get the list here in front of me. So it'll be Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta, and then they need 3 partners versus everyone you just mentioned in Stadium Stampede. And that's going to rule too. Stadium Stampede, that's going to be a lot of fun. And Wembley, I mean, they're going to make that work. So do you want to speculate on who the partners are going to be?
We can do that. We'll jump into that. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to All In general, and I want to address some other things. But when it comes to partners, I feel like Shota is going to be part of it. And then I know people have said Santana and Ortiz. I think that makes the most sense if it is them. I worked myself into a shoot when it came to Homicide being part of the team for Blood and Guts. So I would not be mad if he's there in some capacity. Zack Sabre Jr. worked the ROH taping last night after Dynamite. I feel like getting him on the card would be good. Like they got Ospreay on the card, which is obviously a good big singles match for him. And I feel like Zack Sabre Jr. should probably get a spot as well. And he makes sense there. I mean, I know him and Claudio fought at Forbidden Door last year when that was supposed to be Danielson's spot, but they were kind of baby faces then, even though Danielson said he was a heel. They're certainly heels now. And now, so Zack Sabre Jr., him being a dick, could certainly fit into there. So those are my, if I had to pick, I think Shota is a guarantee. That's the one I feel most confident on. And then I think Santana and Ortiz make the most sense from a story perspective.
I like all those. I legitimately have no idea where they're going to go with this. I think now I'm going to sound like a real noob right here because I'm just realizing this. Is CM Punk not going to be on the show?
No, he's going to face Samoa Joe.
Oh, that's right. Duh. That's right. See, this is what's the problem with having these 2 shows back to back is that I can't remember what's where. I literally last night I was watching the build up for this and I was like, well, because they haven't announced it officially, right? He hasn't accepted it yet. That's why I was forgetting that was happening. I was watching the build up for this and it was showing like Adam Cole and MJF versus Aussie Open on the pre-show, and I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, duh, like they're fighting, but they're facing each other later on. I was like, there's so much going on that I can't keep up with it all,
But okay, so don't you think that's a little bit of an issue? Like you are a hardcore wrestling fan, Jensen, and I've seen this complaint from people. That first half hour of Dynamite last night, I know a lot of people liked it, and I understand why people liked it. It was very much of like, oh, Eddie returned. Here we go. Stadium Stampede. Oh, cut to the Omega sit-down interview. He's attacked. There's Hangman. Now we got this trios match with Kota Ibushi. Oh, here's Chris Jericho in the ring. They didn't even do Judas last night. It's just Chris Jericho's already in the ring. Oh, here's Will Ospreay. That was like the first half hour. You just got hit with 3 straight big announcement matches. And I understand, like, a lot of people liked it. And I thought, look, this has been a staple of Dynamite. Just bang, 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 bang. Just stuff after stuff after stuff on this show. But then a lot of people, especially when you got Collision now, where Collision things sink in a little bit more, things breathe a little bit more on Collision. So when it comes to Dynamite, when you're just hitting people quickly with this, I see a lot more complaints of like, can we let some stuff breathe for a second instead of just big segment after big segment after big segment?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair criticism. To be fair on my end, I just watch so much damn wrestling and so much independent wrestling that like I feel like my brain only has so much capacity to where like sometimes I forget stuff that like I should definitely remember, But like I I would agree with that, though. And I do think the format of Collision is better than Dynamite. I will say that. Whether or not even in that, I'll give praise to CM Punk if he's responsible for that. Like, because it seems like he's very hands-on with Collision, and I do like the presentation of the show. I even like how it's kind of old school, how it starts, where like you hear the theme music, or like before the theme music, it'll be like, I'll be standing there. I'm Stephen Jensen, and tonight, me and Jeremy Lambert are going to go out to the ring, and we're going to kick each other's butts in front of all the fans tonight and settle our score. It's just like little promos that they cut right when the show starts and stuff like that. Like that's old school and it works. So no, I'm with you. I think there's a lot going on in AEW. It makes it kind of confusing. They have a huge roster, but that said, like once the pay-per-views and everything come around, the shows are incredible. So like even if you're a casual viewer, and AEW completely confuses you, and even if like you don't even really know what's going on, I would still highly recommend buying the pay-per-views, like because you are going to watch an incredible professional wrestling show, even if you are confused as to what's going on. That said, for the partners, one other person I want to throw out there that I think would be interesting would be Daniel Garcia, because I think that him leaving the JAS, he always truly belonged in the Combat Club, and now it feels like there's a good opening for that. So I think Daniel Garcia is someone to maybe keep an eye on for that match also.
This it's not necessarily a complaint. It honestly just pops me that Chris Jericho gets this big singles match against Will Ospreay, which good on him. But then Kenny Omega is like, I got to do a trios thing to get Hangman and Ibushi on the show, and Bullet Club and Takeshita. Moxley's got to be in Stadium Stampede so we can get everybody in Blackpool Combat Club and all the best friends and everything. Jericho's like, I'm going to do my big singles match. I don't know what Garcia and Guevara are doing over here. Because Garcia and Guevara should have a spot somewhere on this show. And, looking at the card and what's left, like they don't. I assume they're going to do some type of battle royal because they did that. That was the original All In, as well as they had the battle royal. I imagine they'll have some type of battle royal, and Garcia and Guevara will be in that. Should they be doing a little bit more? Probably. I think the Jericho Appreciation Society hasn't worked for them as much as I had hopes that it was going to. I think it's improved them in some aspects. I mean, Daniel Garcia going from, this guy's only a great technical wrestler, where's his personality, to having like the biggest personality on the show, I think definitely helped them. But I thought he was going to be elevated and helped out a little bit more from everything. I would have liked to see them get a more substantial role on this show. I would have liked to see, honestly, like a triple threat between Jericho, Guevara, and Garcia as a Jericho Appreciation Society blow off over Jericho and Ospreay. That's just me. I understand if other people don't like that. Ospreay would be factored in one way or another on this card, because I thought this is where they were going to do Ospreay and Omega 3. But
I think a lot of us thought that.
Yeah. So I hope Guevara and Garcia get on the card in some capacity. And my guess is they get on the card in a battle royal, which kind of sucks. But which
might be won by Flip Gordon. Didn't he win the first one? Didn't Flip Gordon win it? Man, what a lot has changed since then. Wow.
Well, maybe
because I got you. I'm just saying, like, All In happened a lot. A lot has happened since All In. I mean, it's been what, 4 years now. Yeah. So, I don't know who is gonna 5 years now.
2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember exactly where I was watching that show. That was awesome.
I didn't watch it live. I was at a wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I watched it the next day.
I watched it with one of my buddies who is a wrestling photographer and a guy who I don't really want to bring up, but he's an indie wrestler who doesn't do a lot of wrestling anymore, but he has kind of gone crazy, and I don't really want to promote him too much at the moment, to be honest. But we anyway, I remember watching with those guys, and yeah, that was a cool experience. Just seeing all that, like, kind of playing out, finally seeing what All In was going to be. It's probably the most important show of my lifetime, honestly. Like, being such an independent wrestling fan, seeing that was possible, and then seeing where AEW is at now, all these years later, it's incredible. So yeah, I think you're right though. I'm sure they'll do some sort of battle royal. I'm sure they're going to do what they can to get like as many people on this show in front of this crowd as they can. But I also completely agree that Garcia and Guevara, because once again, I think Garcia could potentially wind up in the Combat Club or something like that. But like, after what happened last night, my initial thought was like, oh, are they going to do like some sort of tag team match or something? Because it seems like Guevara and Jericho are still going to be aligned. Maybe Les Sex Gods is like, they are going to go with that as a tag team, like for a little while again, maybe. But at the end of the day, we said that both of us have said this. Eventually, Sammy Guevara needs to beat Chris Jericho in a one-on-one feud. Like, you got to pay off them being aligned for the last 5 years since the day one of Dynamite or whatever. I guess that's where I'm getting confused. All In was like 5 years ago, but AEW started like 4 years ago. That's where my timeline's a little messed up. But that said, like, I think Sammy Guevara, and here's the thing, if Sammy Guevara is not going to be in like an actual match on the show, he should win whatever battle royal or whatever there is. Like, he should be the guy to, like, you know, he deserves it 100%. So.
Chi-Town Swear says, appreciate the super chat, by the way. Chi-Town Swears. The first half hour is why I like AEW over WWE. Keep me paying attention instead of entrance, commercial, video package, backstage. Same with Collision. And that's fine. Like, again, I know people have had differing opinions on this. It is whatever your preference is. I understand why people like the keep the action moving, keep going, you know, just hit you over the head with everything immediately and don't let you kind of rest and breathe with things. And I understand the people who are like, yeah, how about like you give me a little bit of downtime to process exactly what happened in this segment. I get both sides of the argument. I think there's a kind of a place for both of them sometimes. If I'm being honest, I think there can be a middle ground, and I think Collision does a halfway decent job of this. There can be a middle ground between WWE and the downtime of everything that you're getting, like, okay, video package, and then the guy has to stand in the ring for 10 minutes because we're running another video package and all this stuff, and Dynamite of where it's like boom, 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 just hit after hit after hit. So yeah, I understand that. Super Kick Party Buses. What do you need rest for? You're literally watching a TV show, sitting down. Sometimes you process things. Like, do you not? I
get
watch
their
TV?
point though too. I get both sides. I know. I get what you're saying though. Like, I mean, because even for me, like I'm saying, like I watch a ton of wrestling and I watch a ton of AEW, and even I'm sitting here just a second ago, I was like, CM Punk. Why do not see CM Punk on the show? It's like I forgot. Yeah, they're doing CM Punk versus Samoa Joe on this, but it hasn't been officially announced. But like there is a lot going on. We had another super chat from Chi-Town Spurs earlier.
I was gonna hold off on that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I still want to miss it.
Yeah, I got it.
Cool.
So yeah, I understand both sides of it. You know, whatever works for you, I get it. As far as the All In, I saw somebody said that. I saw somebody said that, you know, it's a love letter to the first All In and just, you know, AEW as a totality. I understand that as well. I get that. I get that completely of like, hey, this is what All In is going to be. You know, I saw people be like, oh, we're doing a 4-way women's match, just like the original All In. Oh, we're doing a trios match, just like the original All In and stuff. Like, I get that was what they're going for. At some aspects. Sometimes I think wrestling fans are just like, hey, let's make stuff up in our own head to make it make sense.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. That's like the main game of like most wrestling fans. That's why wrestling fans all fight each other and hate each other, is because they all have these ideas in their head of what they want to see on the show. And when it differs from their own opinion, they get super heated and triggered over it. That's like that what you just explained is like the main cause of like most of the problems in like the IWC or whatever. It's like because people have their own opinions on this.
Yeah. So I get that in some aspects they're going for that. Look, if they really want to pay tribute to the original All In, Ospreay and Jericho will go 20 minutes over time, and then that trios match will be left with about 7 minutes on the show, and that's it. Or I guess the main event, which is MJF and Cole, but they won't cut from that. They'll have to cut the trios match, just like the original All In. That's how you pay tribute to the original All In. Everybody.
There you go. Yeah. That main event at All In got they had to rush that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's funny even thinking about because Rey Mysterio was in that and everything too. I mean, like so much has happened since then. I think there was another Superhero Party Bus. The guy was talking about like processing the show. He's comparing it to like this isn't like Breaking Bad writing. I get what you're saying. Like it's a similar mindset to like. I might be a little off with this comparison, but like, you know, like there's a like the Nintendo Wii, for instance. Remember when that system came out and it was like bowling was a lot of fun. A lot of people played that, but like the idea was like, oh, okay, you can play all these games with motion control. It seems like this new like evolution of like video games. But in reality, people were like, yeah, it's kind of fun as a novelty, but like it's a lot of work, like standing up and actually like moving around with my video games. I kind of just want to like sit on the couch and just like play with the controller. Like that's actually more fun for me just to zone out and do that. And that's kind of how I see that looking at it that way is like, on one hand, you have your wrestling fans who are going to want to analyze everything. And it's kind of our jobs to do that, like for a show like this. But there's also a lot of wrestling fans who wanted to sit on the couch and just completely zone out and not think about anything. You know, they're just like, just their favorite wrestlers are just doing cool moves. And so, you know what I mean? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So I see both sides of it. I'd also say that Breaking Bad is one of my favorite television shows of all time. Very, very well written and very, very easy to follow, but does a really good job of like a lot of hidden things along the way that you don't notice until after the fact. And which AEW does a lot of too, to be honest. They plant a lot of seeds that don't really get played out until later on. So anyway, I get the comparison, you know what I mean? But I'm the kind of person where here's a good example. If I watch the WWE, right, it's very simplified. And I could just be like, oh, this is who this is. This is who this is. This is their moves. This is their personality. And it's all very, very, very easy. It's not complicated at all. You watch AEW, you get a lot of that, but then you also get everything we're talking about where like there's a ton of wrestlers, a ton of stories. Things are moving fast. We have 2 pay-per-views 1 week away from each other. And you're kind of at your own, choose your own adventure here. Like you can either follow absolutely everything, you can follow a little bit of it, or you can just sit on the couch, tune in, and just enjoy what you're seeing, and just it is what it is. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, though, it's all good. If you're watching wrestling and you like wrestling, you're good with me. You know what I mean? I'm pretty simple. If you like wrestling and you're not an asshole to everybody, I'm cool with you. You know what I mean? Even if we don't like the same things about wrestling.
Why Solid Blade? Do you guys think we'll see more promotion matches on Collision? Warner Brothers Discovery seems to like using Dynamite for them. Yeah, it seems like for the most part, the big tie-ins are for Dynamite. And I think that's kind of by design. I think Dynamite, one, you get a bigger viewership on Dynamite. That's just how it's going to be, especially with college football season coming up. I mean, we've seen Collision viewership kind of take a hit the past couple of weeks against like SummerSlam, UFC, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, preseason, NFL. Now we're gonna get college football starting, and the viewership's gonna be what it's gonna be for Collision. Dynamite's pretty steady on that, so I think it's more eyeballs when it comes to Dynamite, and I do think that stuff works a little bit better on Dynamite because you can do random things like Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy in a Texas Chainsaw death match, like a Chainsaw Massacre death match, and it be a little out of place, but like not weird. Totally out weird. Of place on that show. If that show was on Collision, or if that match was on Collision, I'd feel like, oh, wait, that feels a little bit weird.
Dude, you'd hear a totally different point of view from me on this show if that would have not, like, because we would have been hearing stories about CM Punk gets in the face of Leatherface and tells him not to go out and do that, and I would have been like, you know what, Phil, like, I'm good on that. Like,
we don't do chainsaws. We don't do chainsaws on Saturdays around here. You leave that chainsaw shit on Wednesday.
Right, exactly. Y'all think the glass story was bad. Imagine the chainsaw stories we'd be hearing about. I will say this. Look, I get what they're going for. AEW has done some goofy stuff in the past that's like wound up working okay with like crossovers. Like, for instance, I think that the that one match where it was the Elite versus Dark Order. Dark Order came out with like the what is a cowboy for Hangman Page thing. I thought it was one of the best entrances and moments in AEW history. Was when Dark Order made their entrance that night. And it was not long after like Brody had passed and stuff too. So like it was super emotional. And then right after that, you had the Elite come out in Space Jam uniforms, shooting hoops, and like it's goofy stuff, but like it worked and like it was funny and entertaining. We'd seen Adam Page dressed up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in a segment and stuff. You know what I mean? Like there has been, but last night I will admit that was way past the line of goofiness for me, where I was like, this is. And listen, I grew up on WCW. I've seen I almost call him Turbo Man. What was the guy? And I wasn't Turbo Man. That was from the Drink All the Way movie. RoboCop. That's what I was trying to think of. I was calling him Turbo Man. RoboCop came out and helped Sting back in the day and stuff. We've seen Chucky involved. We saw an ECW zombie. You know, we've seen goofiness in wrestling, but I thought like pretty much everything about that match was bad. I was like, this isn't a good match. This isn't good psychology. This isn't. Karen Jarrett, yo, I didn't say anything the first time this happened, but it keeps happening. She's, I know she's not a wrestler, so like that's why I'm being way more kind about this. But she can't even like properly execute low blows without almost eating it every time. Because she's so off balance in whatever shoes she's wearing, or just like the lack of athleticism. I don't know what it is, but every time, because she's hit probably 3 or 4 low blows that I've seen on television since she returned, and every time she either falls over or like almost face plants. Like she's like incapable of like getting down onto one knee and doing that motion without like falling. It's very strange. But like China, for instance, mastered the low blow. She'd get down there and nail you, and it was like, ooh, that's a low blow right there. No one's getting up from that. Karen Jarrett, like, looks like she's, I don't know anything about, I think the show's called, is it Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Andy Samberg? Have you ever heard of this show? I've never seen the show except for one clip.
Have you ever heard of Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I've never seen the show except for one clip of it that was hilarious, and it reminds me of this, where there's this random clip I've seen where Andy Samberg's character trips and falls, and as he's falling, he accidentally pants his Patrick Ewing, like because he can't grab anything, and Patrick Ewing's in front of him, and he grabs his pants and like pulls his pants down. That's what it looks like when Karen Jarrett's giving a low blow. She's falling over and just like throwing her hand out there, and it happens to be hitting someone in the dick on the way down.
I feel like you'd like that show, by the way, Jensen.
I probably would. Like dude, like he's involved in one of the most underrated movies ever that like could never be made nowadays. But he's in a movie with Adam Sandler called That's My Boy that I actually think is absolutely hilarious, and most people don't like it or haven't seen it. That movie I thought was really funny, and he's really funny in it. And Hot Rod's a funny movie too.
I liked That's My Boy. I love Hot Rod, and I love Pop Star. Never stop stopping. Or I think that's what the tagline. Pop Star is great because I think Lonely Island is just it was something you probably had to be there for, and nowadays maybe it's not.
I was around though when those were dropping, and those were huge on YouTube though.
Yeah, they were that. It's so funny the comedy rap that they would do. So like Pop Star is a really good movie, and I like Hot Rod as well. Yeah, A-Shock mentioned I'm So Humble. That's legitimately the start of that, like the beat of that is so good. I listen to that song just in the car, just jam out to it. Yeah.
Hot Rod's a movie, right, where like there's that scene where he falls down a hill for like a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in the woods like training, and he just keeps tumbling and tumbling and tumbling.
And his dad, like his whole goal is like to be able to kick his dad's ass or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in forever. That was funny though. Lonely Island was good. I actually haven't seen that Pop Star movie, but I have seen. I remember the Lonely Island songs as they were. That one with Michael Bolton was like humongous when it came out.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. And he starts talking about the other movies.
Back to the good part.
Yeah, that's a moment in time right there. Those guys, they took real advantage of like that situation with like YouTube and like not take advantage, but like, you know, they were one of the few people that like used YouTube like to blow up that big back when YouTube wasn't as big as it is now for like, you know, big media and stuff. So yeah, that's anyway, that it's super off topic, but Karen Jarrett's low blows remind me of that scene I've seen of him accidentally pantsing Patrick Ewing while he falls. But yeah, that's all to say. I agree with the fan base that's like that because also I have to be fair. I don't know anything about Leatherface. I don't know anything about these movies. I don't watch horror films. It's not my cup of tea whatsoever. So like nothing about this. The only thing I liked about this match was when Jeff Hardy hit a swanton through a table. That was the only thing I liked about this.
It looked like he murdered Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
With that. I don't know what people's expectations were for that match. You know, like bless Jeff Hardy, one of an all-time performer, especially in gimmick matches and when it comes to doing crazy spots, hasn't looked the best since returning to AEW. Jeff Jarrett is who he is. He's the greatest worker of all time. But I wasn't expecting much from that match. Half of it took place during a commercial break anyway. The rest of it wasn't great. They got paid a lot of money to do it. So, you know,
my bad.
It's a thing. They got paid $100,000, and then it went to reportedly, and then it's allegedly, or not allegedly, reportedly they got paid $100,000. It did. This is what Tony Khan said. All that went to charity because they did the Fight for the Fallen with the Maui Food Bank. So they donated.
Good. Something good came of it then. I like that.
Right. Look, I don't begrudge any of these companies. WWE does it all the time. We saw the Pitch Black match.
Yep.
Sponsors they want to sponsor this kind of stuff. You got to find a way to make it work with stuff. Typically, it don't turn out all that great, but if you can salvage it in some way, good on you. The zombie tie-in match with Priest and Miz a few years ago. I just mentioned the Pitch Black match. Like, sponsors are paying a lot of money for this stuff, and you got to try to figure out a way to make it work. And this was a case where they tried. I'm sure a lot of fans were upset about it. I completely understand that, but they got to understand at the end of the day, it's also a business, and they got a lot of money off of that, and it all went to a good cause. And so, it is what it is on that kind of stuff. But I understand why it's like, why couldn't we have done that elsewhere? Well, because they weren't going to pay $100,000 for it to be taking place on Rampage. Sorry,
sure, that's fair.
It should have just been a full out like cinematic match. I think I probably would have enjoyed it more, and maybe like they felt they needed the live aspect of it, which makes sense. But had that just been like a cinematic match at like a haunted, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of setup, I probably would have liked it a lot more.
Well, and I was about to say that. I that's all I was thinking while I was watching this was like, because also the Hardys are involved. Like, they're the masters of the deletion type matches. I mean, like that. This is right up their alley to do something cinematic for this. So yeah, I thought it was a miss, but I will say I'm not going to knock that they got $100,000 and they were able to donate to charity. Like, I mean, do that however you need to do that. I just feel like, I mean, it's like, okay, well, they gave you the money. Like, you could have done it better. You could have thought a better match. You know what I mean? But, but no, I'm with you, And then there's going to be some people who watched it and absolutely loved it, I'm sure, and that's fine too.
People are saying it should have taken place at the Hardy compound. Yeah. I mean, like,
yeah,
I would have probably liked it a lot more if it was a cinematic gimmick. But it wasn't. They did what they did. I'm a little disappointed. No one did get decapitated with a chainsaw. I feel like they should have worked that in somehow. I don't know how, but they figure it out. Do some CGI, do some special effects on this. Go to the backstage area and do a pre-tape, and somebody gets decapitated with a chainsaw. Anything else from AEW / the build to All In that you want to touch on, Jensen?
No, we can move on to WWE. I'm looking forward to All In though. This weekend.
Next weekend.
Oh, sorry, next weekend. I'm sorry. I'm looking forward to All In next week. I'm looking forward to being at AEW next week in Atlanta for the build up. And I'll have to check in with Matt at Wrestle Rumble to see what all they're doing, because I think they're doing a belt giveaway. Let's see, AEW belt giveaway and Halloween hoopla. So they got some stuff going on. I'll hit up Matt and see if we might have some Wrestle Rumble stuff for y'all possibly next week or the week after. They got like 2 pay-per-views, so we'll keep you on the loop for that as far as like Wrestle Rumble goes, because I'm sure they'll have some cool stuff to talk about with that too. But yeah, no, there's nothing else really. We'll preview All In even more next week. Because I'll literally be at the show the night before, and then I'll be doing this show in the hotel the next morning. So I'll have plenty to talk about for Dynamite and Collision next week.
Let's move on to the WWE.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
The story's not finishing with Judgment Day, because they are taking all over WWE Raw. They're back on the same page. They asserted their dominance once again. JD McDonagh is apparently the Judgment Day whisperer, getting everybody on the same page, at least for Raw. What do you make of JD McDonough's involvement now with Judgment Day?
So I like it. I actually watched the majority of Raw this week. I didn't think it was a very good show this week, but like the week prior, I enjoyed. I will say though, the Judgment Day has definitely grown on me a lot, as I'm sure it has been the case for a lot of fans. I do like JD McDonough's involvement. It makes all the sense in the world. Like, and also a big part of this is, I covered NXT UK for the Weekender on Fightful Select the whole time that was a thing. So like I'm very familiar with. It's hard for me not to call him Jordan Devlin because I'm so used to saying that. But like Jade McDonagh, he's always drawn comparisons because he was a part of the Cruiserweight Classic also, wasn't he? I think he was. Was he not?
McDonagh on the Cruiserweight.
Oh wait, no.
Or...
Or he might have been a part of that first UK title tournament. That's probably what I'm thinking of. The one that Tyler.
I think he was part of that.
Because I remember ever since he's been around, he's always drawn the comparisons to Finn Balor because he looks like the guy. He trained with him. Even when he was wrestling at first, he'd wear like the same, like the black trunks, black gear, like very, it was clear JD McDonagh and Finn Balor were like aligned in some way, or it was just the most massive coincidence ever that this guy was like a mini version of him. So like the fact that they're finally doing something on television together, it makes sense. I thought that like they really established them also even more so at the end of Raw, because the end of Raw this week was them just beating the hell out of like they beat the hell out of Cody, and then Sammy also eventually, right? They stood tall at the end of the show, or did Sammy beat them up with a chair?
No, they stood tall at the end.
They stood tall at the end of the show, but Sammy came out to help Cody. His arm was still all wrapped up with like the bursitis. That's gnarly. That lump he's got on his elbow. But yeah, that's right. The Judgment Day all stood tall at the end of the show, and you know, regardless of how I felt about when this stable started, because like when it was Edge led and all that stuff, and like the long feuds they had with some of these people, including Edge, and it really wasn't hitting for me for a long time. But like Dom has got massive heat. Priest is looking really good, and he's got that briefcase. This is the most interesting. Balor's been on the show probably since he got hurt after the Universal title. Like, Rhea's the most. It's funny because she's a babyface throughout all this. Really, like, crowd reaction wise, and she's like at the top of her game. She might be the best female in the whole company right now. Like, so like you have, and then JD McDonagh like makes sense to be in the group based on his past with Finn Balor. And like, why wouldn't Judgment Day want to recruit more people? You know, like it makes sense that they would. So I like where this is all going, and it's also interesting how they're now kind of like they're marketing themselves now as the most dominant stable in WWE because now the Bloodline is technically like disbanding. So, you know, that's kind of interesting too, where it's like they're acknowledging it somewhat too, where they're like, we're now the most dominant faction in the company. It's like, oh yeah, because the way more dominant faction like is imploding on the other show. Gotcha. But it would be cool if like things would have aligned to where the Judgment Day and the Bloodline could have had a feud with each other, like with both teams being super over. That would have been cool. Maybe we'll still get that at some point in the future or something. I don't know. But there's a lot going on with Judgment Day, and you always had that weird, interesting thing going on too, where Priest has got the briefcase too. I mean, that's a whole other layer of this thing. And him and Balor kind of having their tension and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know where else is heading. But I like it. I think it's a good story.
I think they're going to stay together for a while. The addition of McDonagh gives them a new layer because the Balor challenging for the title back-to-back months or back-to-back premium live events against Rollins. The second one, the SummerSlam match, even though it was really good, might have been the best match on the show. It felt like, I don't know if Balor's going to really win this Rollins' reign. Probably not ending here. Obviously, Priest having the briefcase gives it some extra legs, but it was like, all right, where do you go with Balor now outside of basically him getting kicked out of the group or a turn or something? Because he's failed twice. There's the tension with Priest. You finally capitalize on that, but adding McDonagh just adds another layer to it that helps extend it a little bit. And now they have a little bit more options to it because does McDonagh turn on Balor and McDonagh lead the group? Is he ready for that? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think
I
so.
doubt that.
Yeah. Does Balor kind of split off and take McDonagh just under his wing and then feud with Priest and Dom? And then Judgment Day gets a different leader? Or, you know, they've always said they don't have a leader. It's truthfully Rhea Ripley, but they've said they don't have a leader. But do they add another addition to there if Balor and McDonagh leave? Like they got options. I think it's going to be a while before they execute any of this because I think we're going to get Judgment Day in some capacity at Survivor Series if they bring back War Games. I think that's probably a direction they're going to go. I think Cody is going to certainly push for a War Games match because that's about all he wants to do in his career besides win the WWE title is be involved in War Games in some capacity. And if they don't do it this year, you're just furthering it along. It's like, when are you going to kind of capitalize on it? Right now, they got an opportunity to do it because Cody is part of this Judgment Day feud. I imagine, he had the match with Balor. I think he'll probably have another match with Balor coming up, probably at a Premium Live event pretty soon.
Yeah, I like all that. I like the idea of them being a part of War Games in the Judgment Day, especially if, like you said, with Cody being involved. Like, if they wind up doing a War Games match and Cody isn't involved in that, that'd be kind of sad. Like, so I could definitely see that. Like, Cody, Zayn. I don't know, how long is Owens out for? Do you know?
Not sure yet. I hope he ain't out until end of November. So,
well, I do too, but I don't know. I don't know how bad his injury is. I legitimately have no idea. So I mean, you'd have those guys and some, I think that's a good idea. And like I said, I like Judgment Day and where it's going. Who could a year ago, who could have thought that Dom would have this much heat? I mean, and actually be like doing pretty well. Like, his matches aren't like great, but he's doing enough for what he needs to, and he's retaining a ton. He can't even get a word out without getting booed out of the building. I heard it myself in Atlanta while I was there. Like, those aren't piped in. Like, he is getting booed out of these buildings for real.
It sounded a little piped in on Monday, I must say. Like,
it
felt very, it felt like a little too much on Monday. And so the crowd was definitely booing. It didn't feel like they were booing as much as the noise that was coming through, and the noise that was coming through just felt a little fake compared to the authentic boos that we've been hearing. Because I do think for the most part it has been authentic and it has been loud. Monday felt a little manufactured.
I'd have to go back and re-listen. A Shock said KO visited a zoo. I did see a video of him showing some penguins his tag team title belts. Kevin Owens is definitely a big zoo guy. I remember I don't know if his Twitter still says anything about it, but I know it used to say like panda enthusiast on like his Twitter bio and stuff.
He had the panda shirt.
He did, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Other big happening on Raw, Shinsuke Nakamura positioning himself as the next challenger for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship against Seth Rollins. He whispered something in Seth's ear. Jensen, what did Shinsuke Nakamura say to Seth Rollins?
I've been trying to think of like a good. I really don't know, because I'll say this. I love that Nakamura is getting an opportunity at this. I doubt that he's going to beat Rollins for the title. I don't see it happening, but I've always been a big Nakamura fan. Like, years back, I subscribed to New Japan World almost specifically for Nakamura. Like, I was a huge fan of his. I loved him, especially as like the Intercontinental Champion when he was having that run right before he like left the WWE. There was probably like a 2 or 3 year span before he signed with WWE that like Nakamura was like my favorite wrestler on earth. Loved his New Japan run, and it's always felt like he's been a bit misused in WWE. I don't know how much of that is like on him or how much of it is on the company. There's always the stuff about Shinsuke just wants to serve. He's doing his retirement tour and all that stuff. But like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I was live in the crowd at WrestleMania when him and AJ went out and just like didn't hit expectations, and stuff. And like, but then there's also one of my favorite moments in WWE history, honestly, and it's technically it's in NXT, but like when Nakamura and Sami Zayn went one-on-one in NXT, that's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in wrestling. I love that. So like, it's one of those things where Nakamura has been really up and down kind of with the booking over the years. And I love that, he's going to get a shot against Rollins because it's going to be a really good match. And I like that they're elevating Nakamura to be more than just like another guy right now, or like, Intercontinental title for the 1,000th time going for that or whatever, or like, mid card. Like, this is actually, I like him for him to change his gear as well. I mean, that's just a personal nitpick. I'm not a big fan of like the full bodysuit thing that he wears. Like, I prefer if he just kind of went back to like no shirt with the black pants or whatever. Yeah. But I also know that he's not like the most ripped guy in the world. And I bet that, I could honestly see a scenario where like Vince is just like, you don't have a 6-pack, put a shirt on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's the case, but I could see it maybe because Nakamura he's a very in shape guy. He's not shredded like a lot of the other guys are, but I like that it's happening. I'm excited for the match. I'm actually legitimately looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be very, very good. As far as what he whispered to Rollins, I don't know, but like Rollins' reaction is interesting because like the way he sold it was like, oh, because like in the promo he wasn't shook by anything. He was like he was ready to fight Nakamura, like no fear, what Zero Miedo, whatever. No, but once you whispered to him, then you could see Rollins being like, he was kind of like, whoa, wait a second, So I don't know. I also enjoy that Nakamura cut the majority of his promo in Japanese. I like when foreign heels speak in languages that we can't understand. Like that's good heat to me. I like that and also nowadays someone's always going to translate it and put it on Twitter. So like if you want to know what they're saying, you'll be able to find out. So anyway, I like all of this honestly, and it's a good thing for Rollins to do too because it'll get him another title defense and keep establishing his reign and this new title belt, but also have a good match and a good story going into it, I think.
I'm looking forward to the match. I assume it'll take place at Payback. Nakamura is a guy that has so much charisma, and even if his booking has been a little bit up and down in WWE, that he can just always come out there and the crowd is going to react and take notice when the music hits.
Yes.
I don't know if he'll go back to the old heel theme now that he's a heel again, but the music
is a great song too. They're both great theme songs. Yeah.
Yeah. But he just has so much charisma and presence that like you can't help but like take notice of him. As a wrestler, he is who he is at this point. Like he's just older. Part of it is probably he's not going to turn it up as much as he did in Japan because he doesn't always have to. Seth Rollins is a guy that's going to bring the best out of whoever he's in the ring with. So if you're hoping for a vintage Nakamura performance, I think Rollins is probably a guy who you could see it against. Because I'm sure they'll get time, especially if they're on Payback, and a lot of those matches get time because there's just not many matches on the card. They only do like 5-6 match cards nowadays for the premium live events. So I imagine that match will get plenty of time, and it'll probably be a good match. They gotta whatever Nakamura said, and maybe it was just. Maybe it was just like my style is better than yours. Like your style sucks.
I have a strong style. You have a weak style. He's like
that. I talk about fashion style. I mean, king of swagskay over here.
Dude, Shinsuke has massive swag. Shinsuke Nakamura is one of the I would love to meet Shinsuke Nakamura. He seems like a super cool guy, like legitimately.
Maybe I'm a fan. Maybe he spit some bars at him, like your style is generic, mine's authentic made. That's he just
strong style, weak style. I feel like he had to say something personal to him though, but I just don't know where they're going with, what I don't know, but I'm sure we'll find out either this Monday or next Monday. I mean, we'll find out what he whispered to him.
And so that was going to be my point is like, they got to follow it up now of whatever he said, whatever led to that reaction. You can't just let that go. There needs to be something good enough to where it's followed up of like, oh yeah, that makes sense of why he would, of why he had that reaction that he did. So you got to just follow up to it and we'll see if they're able to do that. The match should be good. It's two very good performers, and I think Seth Rollins is at the top of his game right now, especially when it comes to WWE guys. Like you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody who's delivering in ring more than Seth Rollins right now.
True, and like he's mega over. Like the cheering and the singing with his song and all that stuff. I mean, that can't be understated. Now I will say, because I am such a Nakamura mark, like I would mark out massively for him to beat Seth Rollins for the title. I would love to see it happen. I don't think it will, but I'm one of the few people probably that like, if he ended Rollins' title run right now with a Kinshasa 1, 2, 3 and won that title, I'd be cheering it on. Cause like, I feel like he in the record book at some point, like Shinsuke Nakamura should hold a WWE World Championship at least one time before he retires. I feel like he's deserved that with the career he's had. Also, really quickly, we never got back to the Chi-Town Spurs super chat from earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up here. That's on me.
Oh,
I meant to
okay.
bring it up at the end of our AEW talk, and I moved on to WWE talk, and so I was gonna bring it up at the end of our WWE talk.
Oh, okay, well that's perfect timing because I'm pretty much done talking about WWE. I think, unless you have anything else to add.
No.
Okay. Cool.
Chi-Town Spurs sent us a super chat earlier. It says, all I'm saying on Jack Perry is I'm pretty sure that vacation took place on NJ's birthday. Calling it unplanned is hilarious. Calling the guy with the most matches in AEW is lazy, or AEW lazy is equally hilarious. Do you know, like, I know you've kind of said you haven't quite followed everything on this, Jensen. Do you get what he's talking about here?
I need to read the super chat again and pull this back up. Jack Perry, all I'll say is on Jack Perry, pretty sure. I don't know, so, unless this has to do with like, I saw like some rumors about like with like the glass that he might have wanted time off by using the real glass.
Yeah. So what Sean reported, this is from Fightful Select, best $5 in the business. Yep. According to those on the side of Punk, Perry wanted to use real glass for a backstage segment. Punk was of the belief that he did this so he didn't need to come to work the next week, which he sees as a big problem in the company.
Yeah. I'll say this. I think Punk's correct in the fact that you don't need to use real glass, especially in a backstage segment. But I don't think that Jack is like doing anything specifically to not have to work. I don't believe that. So I guess if that answers the super chat, that's kind of my mindset is like, I think that there's Joe Janela tweeted about it too. I think there's still some GCW left in Jungle Boy, and I think there's probably this part of him where he's like, I've dealt with glass before plenty of times. Like, I know how to, it's not a big deal. Like, we'll just use real glass and it's going to look more real. And, you'll pull the glass out of my skin afterwards and, I'll just keep wrestling a couple weeks from now. And I can understand Punk though, too. I don't know if it's as simple or black and white or as like brazen as Punk being like, this guy's trying to get out of work. Although I could see him being like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know. But I'll say this. I would agree with Punk though. If this is the case, I would agree with Punk that like, there is no reason for him to use real glass in a backstage segment when they can just use fake glass.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be any type of real glass being used if you're going to break it. Definitely know to do that in a backstage segment. I don't even think you need to do it in the ring. I mean, they've admitted they use the not so real glass in the ring and things like that because you want to be safe out there. I understand you want it to look really good, but you also don't want to actually, sever anything by using real glass in the ring. As far as the claim that like, I think he's trying to get out of work, that feels a little bold to make that claim of like, yeah, he's just doing this to get out of work. That's a problem around here is guys just want to get out of work. So they're going to pull these stunts. That feels a little much, but Punk made the making towns comment after the Bucks had planned time off. So
I don't know. I also don't want to be too much she said with that kind of stuff. Like I understand Sean like reporting this stuff because he's definitely hearing things to be saying this stuff, obviously, but like I also don't know like what the tone is and like how serious something like that is. Like I just don't know. Like, but like I said, I would agree with Punk in this scenario that like if Jack was like dead set on using real glass, I would agree with Punk and be like, no, we're using fake glass, and then that way we're not jeopardizing anything, and like you can be here next week. Yeah. Like I understand that.
And if it was, as Super Chat from Chi-Town Tours mentioned, if like maybe Perry just had that week off anyway because it was Anna Jay's birthday. Like the Young Bucks already had that planned week off after Blood and Guts. Like, should they have maybe been on TV? Sure, because I thought the follow-up was just sort of week later, the week after of like, wait a second, where is everybody after Blood and Guts? Okay, they're selling injuries. All right. So they had the week off. Like it was already a planned thing. It's very possible that Perry just already had a planned week off. And like, is he going to be mad about that? People taking a planned week off?
Well, he shouldn't be mad about that, for sure. If it's already been like agreed to that he was going to get time off anyway, but like, regardless, you wouldn't need to use real glass for any of that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So I get it.
Let's move on.
Sorry, just really quick. Boggs mentions a super chat that really quickly says this all makes me want to watch Collision more. LOL. Which is honestly, I hate that that's the fact, but it is true. A lot of this drama around CM Punk does make the show more interesting for people because it's just like way more unpredictable. Like what's going on backstage, what do we see on the show, all that kind of stuff. It makes it interesting. So I'm with you on that.
I would agree if any of it translated to the show. Like it right now, it doesn't. Like Punk's comments on Hangman were post-show things. All this other stuff is just behind-the-scenes reports. Like, is there a possibility that, okay, we'll hear from CM Punk and he makes a comment about class or guys taking time off and things like that? Yes, possibly. But otherwise, like, none of this translates to television. And this is something Jensen and I talked about of why we didn't make Punk a spotlight this week, even though we ended up still talking about him, of like, it's a lot of backstage stuff. I don't have a whole lot to add to it. I do enough other shows where I talk about it, but like I'm more interested in what's actually happening on television than sort of all this backstage drama that's probably just going to keep continuing until it reaches a boiling point, like it did it All Out last year. And it's just like, all right, Punk is policing the locker room the way he feels he needs to police in the locker room. Oh, Bogue says, like, I'll watch and see if any of it translates. That's fair. It's very possible that at some point it does. I don't think you're going to see it unless it's just an offhanded remark that kind of leads to nothing. Like, think of the counterfeit Bucks line. Like, he said that in his first promo back. Like, all right, cool. Like, but it hasn't led to anything. It's kind of just created more drama backstage, which if that's, you know, it helps kind of fund things in certain aspects. But, you know, as far as a television viewer, it doesn't translate to anything. And I imagine a lot of television viewers don't actually know what's going on.
Yep.
Move on to our other spotlight.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
The second biggest company in the world, according to Billy Corgan. I forgot that was the bumper for a second. It's like, oh yeah, Billy Corgan. And then he's talking this week of like, we're positioned to be the next big wrestling company.
Yeah, NW 75 coming up, baby. Tyrus versus EC3 for the title.
So that's definitely going to happen.
Did I lose Jeremy? Oh, sorry. Did you lose? Did I lose? I don't know if I lost you. You lost me.
I cut out. That's all.
Okay. No, we're good. I was just agreeing. I was like, yeah, man, biggest. Yeah, they're really primed for a big run as the next big company. You got NWA 75 coming up. Tyrus versus EC3 for the belt. That'll put the butts in seats. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. What's the actual topic today, Jeremy, for the other spotlight?
Tetsuya Naito won the G1 Climax 33, defeated Okada in the finals, had back-to-back just banger matches against Will Ospreay and then Kazuchika Okada. And now he's going to go on to Wrestle Kingdom to try to finish the story. We'll see if Sonata still has the title by the time Wrestle Kingdom comes around. I imagine he will, because that's a big part of the story of Naito Sonata being Sonata leaving LIJ and everything. So that seems like it's going to be the Wrestle Kingdom main event is Naito and Sonata. Is Naito finally going to get his moment at Wrestle Kingdom?
Yeah, I feel like he has to, right? I mean, like, they've done this so many years in a row, it feels like. And he has won the title before. So he's been their top guy. But, like, it always just kind of, like, winds up not being... Sorry,
he got murked by Kenta the last time he won at Wrestle Kingdom. They did the roll call, and Kenta came out and just completely destroyed him. And then COVID happened, which didn't help.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, I think Naito winning the G1 made the most sense, especially after we talked about it last week with like kind of the final four, and the way that you kind of broke everything down is more or less kind of what's happening, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like they have the history with LIJ being tag team partners and stable mates and everything, and I think it'll be a good match. Like the only thing I have against Naito is like I just feel like we've seen the build of Naito like multiple times, and then like he gets there, and then it's like, okay, it's like just kind of doesn't live up to expectations. Then like you start over, and then like it's a whole another year build of like, will he be the top guy again? But he has really good matches. He's very over. The stuff with Ospreay was awesome. That was awesome stuff. And him and Sonata know each other so well that it's going to be really good. And they're going to probably make it a point to make it like a classic for each of them, especially with the world title on the line. And yeah, my prediction, I think Naito is going to win the title from Wrestle Kingdom.
The fact that Naito still has this connection with the crowd and everything, because they have not gone. I mean, look, that first run should have been, or the latest run should have been much bigger. The pandemic happened. I get it. But then Evil cut it off. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like, no, like that just cut things immediately when you're putting the belt on Evil. And then Evil's run was what it was. Naito got it back, but again, it was during the pandemic and people just a lot of that stuff fell by the wayside. He's now going to get his moment, I assume, in the Dome. I hope he gets a chance to do the actual roll call. There's no attack. There's no let's immediately cut this short. Super Kick Party Bus says the title Naito winning, but then the title reign will not be an Okada-like reign, and that's going to make people mad. It probably will if it's not this super long Okada type reign, because I think that's what people want for Naito. I just want him to have his moment. I want him to have his moment to stand tall, to defend it in front of people, to put on good matches, to not face Evil, and then just move forward. That's what I want for Naito. If that only lasts until whatever the next big show, I'm very bad with the
I'm terrible
Japan
with it.
schedule. I know Wrestling Dontaku is one of the big shows after Wrestle Kingdom. That only lasts to Wrestling Dontaku. That'd be a little bit unfortunate, but I get it. As long as he just gets his moment inside the Tokyo Dome, that's really all I want for Naito.
I'm with you. He deserves that. he's a over the last handful of years, especially he's a real quote unquote pillar of he's just super important to that product and has been for a long time now. So he deserves that moment too. I'm with you. And it's good to see Sonata having an actual title run too. He deserved the title for a really long time too. So it's going to be by the time Wrestle Kingdom comes around, Sonata is going to be a tried and true, a legitimate champion who had a legitimate title run. And then Naito being the guy to beat him for it would it makes sense. I think it's smart.
I thought they waited a little too long on Sonata. I feel
Agreed.
It probably should have been the champion instead of Evil.
100% agree. Yes.
But yeah, he's done the best with this reign. He's done very good things with this reign. Him losing to Evil in the round or after the round robin play, where he went undefeated in the round robin play. Now he's probably gonna have to face Evil at the next big show. That's unfortunate. I do imagine Sonata will win that though, and then vanquish one former LIJ, his former tag team partner and former LIJ member who went on to win the world title. Now you got Naito, current LIJ member leader, who is coming after the world title. So it's a good story for Sonata, and I imagine it'll be a good match. And he worked G1 hurt as well. But it seems like they don't have another big tour until September. He is going to work Impact Emergence next weekend, I believe. So he's going to work that show. All right, let's go to our indie spotlight, Jensen.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
2 title changes in the world of independent wrestling. There's, I'm sure, more, but the two ones we're going to talk about. Hunter Drake winning the New South Championship and Alec Price winning the IWTV Independent Wrestling Championship. Jensen, your thoughts on both of these title changes?
So first off, for the New South title, technically there was 2 title changes at New South, because what wound up happening is there was the main event of their Anniversary 8 show was Kenzie Page defending the title against Hunter Drake and Dylan McQueen. Dylan McQueen actually wound up pinning, and this is in a steel cage. Dylan McQueen actually wound up pinning Hunter Drake to win the title and became the champion. Braden Toon came out, who had, for all intents and purposes, had a Money in the Bank briefcase, and came out, and it looked like he was going to cash in on McQueen. And instead, Hunter Drake low blowed McQueen, and Braden handed his briefcase to Hunter, gave Hunter the title shot, and Hunter wound up pinning McQueen. So we had a title. So McQueen beat Kenzie for the title in the steel cage, and then Hunter Drake beat Dylan McQueen pinned Hunter Drake to win Kenzie's title in the steel cage, and then Hunter Drake pinned McQueen right after to become the new champion. So huge shout out to Hunter Drake. Him, Alec Price are both guys we've had on this show. If you want to know more about them, some long form interviews. Hunter Drake was on pretty recently. Alec Price was about 6 months ago. But I know, huge shout out to Hunter Drake. He's been killing it, and he's been a real, I keep saying pillar right now, but he's been like a real pillar of New South Pro Wrestling. A long time with like a tag team. Him and Tyler Franks as the Talladega Knights were a really big, young up and coming babyface tag team, and have split. And Tyler's doing his thing still in New South, and Hunter has rose to the world title. So very happy to see that for Hunter Drake, and he's only keep getting better and better. The only knock on him that anyone's going to say is his size, and that's because he's literally just so young, just like Jordan Oliver and so many before him. Alec Price is going to fall into the same thing too right now. These guys, they're teenagers, they're young adults, they're going to fill out, they're going to get bigger, but the talent's already there, and they're going to keep getting better too. Hunter Drake, keep doing your thing, man. I love seeing him now representing New South as the champion. Speaking of New South, someone who's very important in New South, Cabana Man Dan. Y'all will be hearing from him soon here on this show, and I'm sure we'll talk about Hunter as well. Also, Alec Price, yes, humongous win for Alec Price. The Prize City OG, the Northeast Beast. I love the finish of this match too. So like the match, it was the main event of American Rana on IWTV. Use code Fight Talk. It was Matt Tremont defending the IWTV Independent Wrestling Championship against Alec Price in the main event of the show. At the end, there was like cinder blocks introduced to the match. I mean, right at the beginning, Price got him with a gusset plate, and like Tremont was bleeding like crazy the entire time, as you'd expect to see from Matt Tremont. But the end of the match was so tight. Like Alec Price did the Billy Kidman style. Like the joke for me was always like, you never want to powerbomb Billy Kidman, because like he would always come down with like the X Factor. He'd always reverse it into the X Factor. So like Alec Price did that, but reversed it onto cinder blocks. So like it looked awesome. And then Alec Price came off the top rope with a blockbuster, and Tremont sold it right on top of the cinder blocks. And I thought that was going to be it right there. And then he kicks out, and I'm like, okay, there's no way Tremont's losing this title now. Like he just kicked out of a blockbuster onto cinder blocks. And then I love the finish, because just a bloody, just beat down Matt Tremont's on one knee, and he's looking right at Alec Price, and he's saying, do it, finish it, do it. And he's asking Alec Price to finish the job. He's just laying there helpless, kneeling there helpless. Alec Price hits him with that surprise kick. 1, 2, 3. New IWTV Independent Wrestling World Champion. Love to see it. And you also have this ongoing story, because Cruel never lost the true IWTV championship, and him and Tremont have been going back and forth. And now that feud has now kind of like become Tremont kind of aligning somewhat with Price out of respect. And now Cruel's coming after Price, and they're going to have to eventually unify these titles. So anyway, I loved all of this. I'm not 100% sure to where to find the New South show, because I believe it was supposed to air on their YouTube. I know I've seen clips on Twitter of some of the matches, and I know New South also just signed a new deal with IWTV. So keep a lookout for them returning to IWTV soon. And also, speaking of IWTV, shout out to Alec Price. You can watch him on IWTV defending that title. You can watch him everywhere. He's in like every company right now. And yeah, I'm a huge Alec Price fan. So like I love seeing this for Alec and for Hunter.
I believe the New South show is up on their YouTube.
Is Anniversary 8 or Anniversary 7 on there? Because the Anniversary 8 is the one you're looking for.
Oh, okay. Well, they said they premiered last year's episode. Just this year. Oh,
it was weird, because like it was confusing, because they were doing, and I can speak to Dan more about this probably when we talk to him, but like I think they were going to air everything on their YouTube, but then they signed this deal with IWTV. So I don't know if and when it actually aired. I've just seen clips of it. So like,
right.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's just going to like when they re-debut on IWTV, if they're going to use that as like their premiere episode or something, which I would understand if they were doing that. But anyway, support New South Pro Wrestling. Go over to their social media, go to their YouTube, check their stuff out. And then you can check out American Rana and Alec Price's title win on IWTV right now. It's available on demand. So
we are scheduled to have Alec Price on In the Weeds tomorrow. So he's supposed to, he's already stirring up some stuff on Twitter, or getting dragged into some stuff on Twitter about when it comes to defending that title. Cause IWTV title mainly been an East Coast kind of thing, and Alec Price goes everywhere. So we could see it go over to the West Coast a little bit, which would be good. It'll be good. good publicity for that title and just IWTV and just good expansion. We talked to Alec Price earlier this year, and I wanted him on the show earlier this year because I think he's already proven to be a breakout star, but I think he's just one of the future guys of wrestling. So it'll be cool to talk to him tomorrow. Jensen, I know you got to run. Let everybody know where to find you at.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Fight Talk or on X at Fight Talk _, FIGHTTLK_. Use code Fight Talk and independentwrestling.tv. You can check out the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. It'll probably be up on Monday this week because I'm doing that bachelor party this weekend. So it'll probably be Monday unless I record it beforehand, because like I can talk about Alec winning. I can talk about some other stuff that's gone on in the Indies since the last time I recorded that show. So keep a lookout for that. Either like it probably won't be on Sunday though. It might be a little early this week, or it might be on Monday. But just keep a lookout at FightfulSelect.com. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. I hope everyone has a good weekend and a good rest of your day. Good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing everyone in the chat. And enjoy this conversation you're about to hear with Jack Jameson and Joe, the Black Italian Stallion. Joe's going to be fighting tomorrow. So Friday, whenever y'all see this, Friday, he's going to be fighting at Rough and Rowdy for the heavyweight title. And then Jack Jameson just recently appeared on AEW Collision, returning guest of the show. So hope y'all enjoy this interview that's about to air. I'm going to go clock in for the shoot job. Just make it through this next 9 hours. And then I've got like a week off. So awesome. And then next week, y'all, we already have it pre-recorded. Next week on the show, you're going to hear from Adam Priest, who is the Action Wrestling champion. Also has been heavily involved in New South in the past, which we were just talking about and stuff. So we have an interview with Adam Priest for y'all next week for y'all to listen to. So that said, see you, chat. See you, Jeremy. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks as always, Jensen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get through the rest of this day and enjoy the time away from the shoot job. All right, everybody. We are going to get into the creator spotlight, as mentioned by Jensen. We have Jack Jameson Ryan, who's been on this show multiple times. Usually you see him with Diamond Sheik. Today, you are going to see him with the Black Italian Stallion, Joe Mogavero. I mess up his last name, and I apologize to him that I screw up his last name. Joe is part of Rough and Rowdy, Barstool Sports boxing campaign, boxing thing that they do. Yeah, he's going to be fighting on Friday. He's also a cop as well, so we talked to him about that. We talked to him about boxing. We talked to him about wrestling. Jameson, you've seen on ROH TV alongside the Iron Savages. They were on Collision this past week facing the Acclaimed. So you may have seen him there, but always a pleasure having Jameson on the show. He's been very great to us. And so it was good to catch up with him because it's been a while since he's been on the show. And Joe was a lot of fun as well, talking about it gives us some fun chase down stories when it comes to the cops. And he does, if you've ever seen On Patrol, I bring that up during the interview. If you've ever seen On Patrol, that's kind of stuff that Joe kind of does. So fun interview with these two. Everybody enjoy the creator spotlights. And here we go. Jack Jameson, Black Italian Stallion.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight, the interview portion of the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and we have two guests today on today's show. First one is going to be competing this Friday at Rough and Rowdy for the heavyweight championship against Bradley, the American Redneck. We have Joe, the Black Italian Stallion, undefeated boxer in the house today. Joe, how you doing, man?
Doing great, bro. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, this has been a long time coming. Full circle here because our other guest, y'all might know him. Well, actually, I'm going to do the whole intro here.
Hey, you got to get the full intro here, Jensen.
I got you. We got the Shredded Savage, Pose Malone, Flex Luger, Arnold Pumpinator, Jack Jameson, part of the Iron Savages. Jameson joining the show once again, a regular guest that we haven't gotten to talk to in a little while here. Had a lot going on. Recently appeared on AEW Collision, as a matter of fact. And just so people know behind the scenes a little bit, the reason I know both of you guys is like small world. My brother trains Joe. My brother was like, hey, Joe's got a friend who's trying to be a wrestler. This is like a while back. Then the next thing I know, I believe you're getting chokeslammed by the Big Show. And then I'm like, oh, wait, we got to interview this guy. And then a lot has happened since then. So our other guest, of course, is Jack Jameson. How you doing, Jameson?
Good, man. What's going on, guys? Long time no see.
Yes.
It's good to see you again. Looking jacked as always.
You know
love to see it.
Looking more jacked than ever.
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to be here. Pumped we got the Black Italian Stallion on right now, the Buffalo Bomber, the 5-0, the Popo, the Black Italiano.
Oh man, are you gonna be there live for this thing on Friday, Jameson?
I wanted to. I'm gonna be booked for Ring of Honor that weekend.
Oh,
so.
of course. Hey, fair enough. Well, speaking of, how is that all going, man? You've done a lot since we talked last. I mean, you're a regular part of Ring of Honor. You appeared on Collision, part of Iron Savages. I mean, those guys are killing it. As a matter of fact, is your debut match against those guys, and now you're teaming with them?
Yes, it was my debut match with AEW. Actually, AEW Dark was my first time there. It was actually like my 5th match total. Was a tag team match against Bear Country, and then I've actually had 2 more matches against them, and then that led to me getting an opportunity with them. They were pretty impressed that they were kicking my ass so badly, and I kept coming back for more. So they were like, you know what? Let's see what this guy's like outside of the ring. We started going to the gym, hanging out, lifting. 2 big boys like that, Dirty Bulk Bronson and the Sauce Horse Beefcake Boulder. It's been pretty cool. It's been a lot of fun. Been lifting a lot of weights. Been eating a lot of food. Those boys like to eat, but you got to keep them big and ready. 2 big athletes like that. Collision was insane. That was something. Going up against the Acclaimed, one of the best tag teams in the world right now. Sans Daddy Ass.
Were you disappointed that Daddy Ass wasn't there? I mean, you were outside with the Iron Savages.
The rumor is he heard that I was gonna be there, and he was like, "You know what? Let me just retire so I don't embarrass myself."
I'm gonna run that.
He's gonna kick my ass.
I'm gonna run that as a clickbait headline. Be like, Jack Jameson said Daddy Ass is a coward. And
that's great. That'll be great for me when I go to practice.
Yeah, I would say I know you guys have history, the 2 of y'all, through training, and also at CDW. He was there live at one of the CDW shows, which
he came and saved QT Marshall from CYN in EC3, and then they ended up having a match on our final show, which was incredible. QT and Daddy Ass scissoring each other, one of the most hated men in wrestling and one of the most loved men in wrestling, coming together to take down CYN. You love to see it.
Yeah, as you said, final show for CDW Championship District Wrestling, which bittersweet. I hope there's more of some kind that comes of all of that. I thought it was something that was cool in the scene, and I very much appreciated being a part of the commentary team a little bit for that. That was like a dream come true for me to be able to be involved. So, I think that people should check those shows out. They're available on the Nightmare Family YouTube. Like they're great shows, and like they got a lot of views for like a company that didn't run very many shows. It like blows a lot of like established indies out of the water as far as like numbers and production and like quality and everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking good at this, I guess. We had over 10,000 views on like all 6 shows, I believe now. Some of them have a lot more than 10,000 views. I would be interested in booking some more shows and putting my brand of wrestling out there if anybody has some money and wants to give it to me.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. That's where you got to go for the money, Jameson. I love it.
Hey,
like, you know what? If somebody pays enough, I'm here.
It's not free. People that come work for us and get booked, they want money. I want money. Everybody wants money. So you want to see good wrestling that comes out of my creative brain.
Love it. I'm gonna switch to Joe. Joe, you got the fight this weekend, so I've been looking at highlights, and we'll get into the boxing stuff. But you got the background there is the cop car. You're billed as a cop. It says cop from Georgia on there. So please tell me, balancing being a cop and fighting, on the weekends and training to fight. I got to know just more about this because it's a hard life for the cops.
Yeah, it's so I'm on like a proactive.
Sorry, it's like muting in and out. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
it's muting in and out a lot.
Well, let me see.
Cops get no respect. Even the city can't get a good self.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I think it's because I had the mic on the wheel, which makes perfect sense.
There
okay.
You go. Okay, we can hear you perfect now.
Anytime you guys need me, I got this. But yeah, it's I work in Zone 6. on a proactive unit, so we're going out and looking for stuff. We're not answering 911 calls, so we're busy nonstop the whole time. I love it. I have a lot of fun with it. I've enjoyed it since I came down here and started doing it. And then once I got into boxing, it was just about finding time. If I want to compete, if I want to win, and I don't want to embarrass myself in front of my family and friends, then I got to find time to put the work in. You know what I mean? And I found an awesome trainer down here, Mr. Stephen Jensen, who is best pad holder of all time. Awesome coach, and he's put me through the ringer, and he's gotten me to where I am now. And I don't see anybody stopping me, so I'm pretty excited about this weekend.
Yeah.
Body cam footage of him chasing some dude through the city of Atlanta, getting fucking smashed by a car, rolls over the hood of the car into the street, pops up, keeps chasing this dude, and catches him.
I do have that video. If you guys want, I can send it to you. Oh, I 100% want to see this. I love watching On Patrol. I don't know if you know that show, but like I don't know how, like, it seems realistic. It seems like not stage stuff to me. But it sounds like you do just similar stuff of like, we're kind of looking for stuff that's happening. And if stuff is going down, we got to handle that. So I love that show for people who have not seen On Patrol. It is a great way to kill hours on a Friday, Saturday night.
Think about that. I love the body cam footage and that stuff because it gives people who only have like TV show ideas of what we do, gets to see like the real thing. It's a video camera on our chest. You can see exactly what we see, and sometimes it gives you a good input into how crazy or funny things get for us out here on the street.
There was actually another video. You want to talk about this guy's conditioning and his in-ring shape? I saw another video from a helicopter. It was fucking the thermal scannings, and you just see these two guys running through the woods, and then all the way back you see this one big predator-looking body just, and he catches them too.
That was a good one. There was who they had robbed somebody and shot somebody who survived, but they were hiding in the woods. The helicopter was above. They were telling us where they were, and the helicopter watched them throw the gun away. So that's why I ran at them like a madman. Even like I actually wasn't. I knew that they didn't have the weapon anymore, but I ran, and for some reason, it was like they balled together like an actual wrestling move, like a double clothesline. Like they stood together, and I just like tackled them at once, and it worked out well. That one worked out well. Gave them the old bear hug. Nice.
Well, your skills and your conditioning and everything has really translated well into boxing so far in your fights. And I know there's like a lot of training involved and stuff like that. Before I ask you about some of your fights so far, what was kind of the motivation of like going into boxing and like actually competing? Because it's one thing to like be in good shape and like hit mitts and like do it like, for fun or to stay in shape or as like a hobby, but it's another thing to like go in there and willingly, know someone might hit you in the head. You're trying to win, you're trying to beat somebody. Like it's a totally different thing. Like what's kind of your motivation behind wanting to be involved in that?
So actually I always take this back. It sounds funny, but the very first book I read, it was the biography of Muhammad Ali. So I always loved and I would love his quotes, and I had all the posters of him, but when we were in Buffalo, I just didn't know. That's where we're both from. I didn't know of any boxing there. I didn't know boxing gyms, and I was playing basketball there. So I played college basketball, and then I kind of got as good as I could at that sport. I moved down here, and I just wanted another challenge. And there's nothing like starting from the bottom, and watching yourself and feeling yourself get better at it. And it's honestly, it's not the same, but it's similar to Jameson's story here, because at the same time, he always has loved wrestling, and he was like, I want to do it. I could do it. He got an opening. He started from the bottom, and he just kept building, feeling himself getting better and better and better. And that's how it was with me with boxing. I just kind of got addicted to it almost, but you could be addicted to much worse things.
Jameson, how long have y'all known each other? And like, did y'all both move here at the same time to Georgia and everything? Or
we did move here at the same time. It was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks apart. We ended up living together after a little while as well, for a little bit. But Joe, I think the first time I met Joe was maybe right the summer after high school. We threw a party at my buddy's house in Niagara Falls, and we had literally, like, his dad would stay in Syracuse on the weekends. So we had this was like a big blow. We bought like 30 cases of beer. We had like 20 bottles of booze. Mind you, this is right after high school. Don't ask me how we got those. But
wait, you have a cop on the show right now.
Well, he wasn't
Jameson.
a cop then. He's not gonna go back in time and arrest his former self, you know. But we had it was like our biggest party yet. We used to have parties all the time, but this was like our big one. We were gonna blow it out. So we had like 100 people there. There was all the local schools. Everybody was coming through, and then we saw Joe and his buddy, I believe Anthony.
Yep.
Maybe they walked up and they were just twice the size of everybody. So me and my buddy whose house it was, we were looking at each other and we're like, all right, if those guys get into a fight, we got their side. We're with them. we don't know who the hell they are, but we're not kicking them out of this party. So.
They could be in the wrong. It does not matter. We are taking their side on this.
Little did you know, I didn't know how to throw a damn punch. So I probably would have lost in there.
That's really cool though. Like both of y'all having like Jameson being like trying like the wrestling path while Joe's trying like the law enforcement and boxing, like kind of parallel with one another. Both of y'all doing your thing. It's not like at the same time. That's really cool that it's working out so well for both of y'all.
Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest things ever. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have become an officer if it wasn't for Jameson here. I don't know if he remembers, but he's the reason I got my first job here, which was security at a bar in Buckhead. And through security, I met an officer who's working at the door, and that's what got me into the department. So technically, I got to learn the cameras. This guy is the reason that I'm in this job now. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. Who was that? Snug Life?
Yeah.
Garrett? Yeah.
Garrett, yep.
Garrett came to all the district shows as well. He was a big fan too. So that's pretty cool that all comes full circle.
Love that.
Okay, how do you get the nickname Snug Life? I need this story.
He has it tattooed on his big belly, just like two Snug Life.
Wow.
But do you know how is it for like snuggle? Like does he?
Yeah, he likes to cuddle. He said he just likes to snuggle. Yeah.
That's funny.
That honestly rules. Joe, you did cut out for a second. You're good. You're good now. I see you messing with the camera. Hopefully you can hear us.
Sneezing or something.
Yeah. Oh, now we can't hear him.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm here for. Just like Sheik, man. It's just like
I was going to say, just like Sheik.
This is tradition.
It's not a Jameson appearance if the person he's with just does not have just a bunch of tech
issues. It's just
issues.
more opportunity for talk. That's kind of my thing. So, it might be me. I might be sabotaging everybody I come on here with.
Let's see if it's working. Sorry, Joe. Joe, go ahead and try to say something real quick. Can you hear
I don't
me?
know if he can hear us.
Oh.
I was saying, Jameson, I can't ask you about your right hand and how you throw it and knock people out with it. I mean, you might have a good right hand, but I've never seen it in a professional boxing bout. So I don't know. If
I did punch Slim J in the face. The first time I was paired up with the Iron Savages. You can ask him how it is.
All right, let's see if we can get Joe's working here.
Can you hear us, Joe? Hold up the number one if you can hear us, like the bloodline. Sorry,
like the bloodline.
The bloodline.
I don't know if he can. I'm gonna say I might just boot him and then try to bring him back in.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, all right, so I'm gonna kick him for a second, and then hopefully he realizes to enter back in. Or if you want to message him, Jameson, to let him know, hey, just try to get back in.
And I'll let him know. I'll text him.
Cool. I had a boxing question prepared for Joe, and now, all right. Well, let me ask you this, Jameson. Since we are on the subject of boxing, do you have any interest in competing in the world of boxing? Because there is a lot of wrestling YouTube influencer crossover with all this.
You know what? I'm glad you asked that question because no, I do not.
Give me a
I like
fake
wrestling.
answer.
I think Joe should make the transition from boxing into wrestling. I think.
Oh, I was going to ask him that as well. I was 100% going to ask him that. All right, let's
He's
see.
back. Let's see if we can hear him.
Absolutely. Joe should be a wrestler. I should not be a boxer. It does not go both ways.
Okay, I think we got him.
There we go. Can you hear us, Joe?
I can hear you. I was
Okay.
Guy's lips move and nothing, and I was like, I just.
Okay, we're good. Sorry, Jeremy, you had a question for Joe?
Yeah, let me ask because Jameson can't answer a question about you throwing a right hand. So I'm going to ask you about throwing your right hand because I've seen the highlights and the fights and like you're knocking these dudes silly. And some of these guys are very tough. Like they're not going down. It looks like you're hitting them with everything you got. But that right hand is nasty. Absolutely nasty. So walk me through just kind of like the technique of everything, because a lot of times you see these boxers who were on these shows and there ain't much technique to it. No offense to these guys, but you, everything looks pretty crisp, pretty clean. So talk to me a little bit about the technique and just the feeling of hitting someone with a right hand like that.
Yeah. So honestly, like I said earlier, you watch stuff on TV and you're like, I know how to do this. Like I could definitely do this. Like everyone does it with every sport. You watch a professional soccer play and you're like, if they put the ball there, I would put it in the net, but we wouldn't. So like finally, once I met with Brian and some of the trainers, they taught me the technique of, sitting down on the punch, using my hips, turning my shoulder and stuff. And once it became kind of like a natural movement. And you kind of realize that if you do certain things the right way, you can just pop somebody with some of these punches. And some of it's similar to almost throwing a baseball. The mechanics are throwing a football, the mechanics of the hip turning and all that. So once I learned how to do it correctly, it was just kind of like fire from there. And I just kept training it. And the thing I keep saying to everybody is that with these rough and rowdy fights, I could be technical as anybody else and just sit there and jab and move around and stuff. But like these are it's called rough and rowdy brawls. They're for brawls. So sometimes I just want to entertain the crowd and I just unhappy to Brian. I lose a little technique and just throw some bombs, but it's fun. Too much fun. They keep giving me guys who are twice my size, but I don't give a damn.
He's getting the John Cena treatment over there.
Yeah, these dudes you've been fighting are huge. Again, you're hitting them, and it looks like you're walloping these dudes. And they are just. It looks like they're just taking it. Like, how is this happening?
Yeah, that last guy.
Didn't you hit some guy so hard you knocked him out, and then you knocked him back too?
Yeah. Last guy, he's so super nice guy, by the way. We had a bunch of beers after. But
the Hammer, right? The Hammer. Yeah.
Hammer Harris. He's 6'8" and 310 pounds is what he was when I fought him. I was probably, it says 230, but I weighed in with my clothes and my shoes on. So I was probably 225 and I'm 6'3", and I'm like, all right, he's enormous. I was like, but I'm going to touch that damn chin and we're going to see what the fuck happens. Cause I'm going to hit it a lot and he's going to miss a lot because I'm going to be able to use what I got. And I hit him and I would watch him stumble. And one of the times I watched him on the ropes, I watched him go limp. And if I would have stepped back, he would have fallen. But I hit him 2 more times and he woke back up and just threw a baker at me. Like, fuck. Thanks, man. But yes, they just keep giving me the big boys, but it doesn't bother me. I love it.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say about that fight with the Hammer. I props to that guy, by the way, because I legitimately don't think he's gonna lose to anybody else. Like he seemed like the second best guy available, that they could have possibly found to fight you. To be honest, he was super tough, big. He actually seemed like he had a pretty good grasp of what he was doing, because there was a wide range of talent levels on these shows. I mean, which is the whole point, like you said, and that's why you want to be entertaining. It's a barstool fighting event. It's for fun. I mean, it needs to be an alternative. It can't be the same as the other events for it to. I mean, I like the presentation, especially because of the entertainment aspect being, you came out dressed up like Stone Cold Steve Austin for your fight. Also, my brother, I gave my brother the Sandman shirt a decade ago, and I've always let him keep it, and he wore it out to the ring with me. I was very proud of that. Yeah. And by the way, just for what it's worth, I know you said, he might not like some of the technique or whatever, like during the fight. He's very, very proud of you. He nonstop is talking about like this, the next fight you've got or anything coming up for you. Like he loves you, dude. So like trust me, he's showing everyone these highlights as well. But yeah, what was the kind of the thought process and the mindset of like going with the Stone Cold vest for the entrance and everything?
So I've been a huge wrestling fan since I was little, and I remember, speaking of Stone Cold, I had an old coloring book from when I was in I think middle school, and I drew a picture of Stone Cold, and I showed Greg it recently. It's actually awesome, I think. But I was always a wrestling fan. Stone Cold and The Rock were always my favorites. I have a bunch of pictures of them in my man cave. I was so into wrestling. My mom told me the story the other day. One of you guys might know the exact one, but it was when Shawn Michaels got carted off on a stretcher. I want to say it might have been when he jumped off of a ladder, one of the fights, but he's carted off in a stretcher. My mom said she had to console me because I was just bawling and losing it. I was fully engulfed in the WWE back in the day. So with that, Stone Cold has always fired me up. His music, that glass breaking, it gets me going every time. So went online, found a vest. I'll be wearing it out again, and I'll be walking out to that glass breaking again. Can't wait.
You can't pick
it's not the first time you wore that vest, isn't it? You was it what AJ's wedding?
Yeah, I wore it to my entrance to I was the best man at a wedding, and in front of his whole family and his wife's whole family didn't meet me. I walked into Stone Cold's music, sat on top of the bar, smashed beers together, and chugged them on my face with no shirt on. So I'd say I'm in. I'm definitely.
I absolutely
Jeremy, I'm going to say Jeremy's got something in common with you here with the wedding.
Look, I absolutely love this. At my wedding, I had John Cena's theme. Yep. That was our first like entrance song there when you walk through, and I was ready to run, take off, do the salute and go. And my wife was like, "Yes, exactly." My wife was like, "Absolutely not! You got to be kidding! We're not doing that."
Yeah.
She's a wrestling fan, by the way. Like she's a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, she's a wrestling fan. She has no problem with it, but she's like, nope, not running. She had, heels on and all this stuff. She's like, not doing any of that.
Love, awesome.
I think it was your last fight. Maybe it was even the first fight, but it said that like 9 guys like just refused to face you.
It keeps happening. Yeah.
How frustrating is that? Of like, oh, I got an opponent. No, I don't have an opponent. Like, just how frustrating is that?
Because you're putting the work in, and during work, instead of work, after work and before work, I'm going to the gym. Like I'm putting the work in. So then to hear that, you're like, damn, because you know how much time you're taking away from just other things you could be doing. So every time I was excited, I'd be like, yes, they got someone. An hour later, no, he's not gonna. I'm like, fuck, dude. So like it was a roller coaster for sure. And I mean, I'm so happy that RJ obviously stepped in, and that guy. It takes 2 to tango. We got fight of the night, and that's because I got stepped in there with a monster as well. So I was really happy about that one.
I know,
what, man? People just don't want to fight my fucking boys. Nobody wants to fight the Iron Savages. Nobody wants to fight the Black Italian Stallion. And if you guys remember Austin Green over on the district shows, he's also an MMA fighter. His biggest issue is that he can't get fights. Nobody wants a piece of my crew.
That's very
Jameson,
fair.
You're training too many killers out here. You gotta tone it down.
True, so true.
And I know Dave Portnoy, who massive shout out to him. Not that he needs it from us, but like that guy just bought back Barstool for $1. I mean, just like winning massively. And he is on record as saying that the first round of your last fight was the best round in Rough and Rowdy history up to this point. So and it was really cool to see, because you can see it all kind of as your last fight was playing out. The crowd was super into it. The commentary was going crazy. And like right after the fight, I'm really bad about everyone's names, but there was like the dude from Barstool that was like there right next to the commentary or nearby. And he was like, dude, we got to get you back. Like it was like immediately they're like trying to bring you in, and it's like title shots. And so they're really getting behind you now. So it's gone from like, which opponent am I going to fight? Which guy? People keep falling out. Like, I know there wasn't a whole lot of money as far as like helping with travel previously and stuff. I know that's gotten a bit better. Like it sounds like they're starting to like take care of you and like really prioritize you as a part of like the brand.
Yeah,
because when you see a star.
Yes, facts, absolutely.
I imagine it's just like I imagine it's similar to wrestling. You know, when you start to show people what you're worth, and then you start the fans are liking it, people are talking about it. Once they're talking about you and you got that buzz, then they're like, all right, we need to have this guy back because we'll keep getting those fans, we'll keep getting this action, we'll keep getting this entertainment as long as we get these guys back to the show. So it makes sense.
Do you have
Honestly,
any?
if Barstool wants to build up a brand with these rough and rowdy fights, they can make this man the face of that brand. Not only is he a monster in the ring, not only is he a police officer and a great role model, but this guy, he's just an incredible human being. He's the nicest man you could ever meet. He's go out of his way to help people. He used to work with kids with disabilities even. He's just stand up through and through, just a great guy. Barstool should just run their entire promotion based around his face.
Oh, dude. So listen, my first plan was to have the Undertaker Paul Bearer set up where I just don't talk and Jameson talks over the whole time. I was like, I would love to just let him talk because God, he's got a gift of the gab, baby.
That pretty much worked out that way anyways. So.
Jameson is so great, and I love Jameson for many reasons. But one of my biggest is that one, he can handle himself. Look at him, he's the most jacked man in the world. But
Buffalo boys, we come for brawls, you know.
But he can talk everybody else up, and then they all back themselves up. And like Jameson can be like, you guys can handle all of this. Because Jameson, you can, you talk them up and they can handle it, but you could maybe talk yourself into maybe some not great situations with certain people. But you got the Iron Savages.
They do.
You got Joe. You're fine. Like they can all handle themselves. That's why I love you.
Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps. I'm a bigger guy. I'm no small fry myself. I can easily handle any situation that I have to deal with. But it's nice to know that if I want to go run my mouth, I'm always going to have some monsters that are even bigger than me standing behind me, like Joe or the Iron Savages. Or with BGU, I got the 7 foot. I can't even. I lost his whole deal. What is it? The 6 foot 12 inch, 15% of a metric ton. The zebra print. Oh, Big Trouble, Ben Bishop. I got it back, baby. Big Ben.
Yes. Well, now speaking of, I know you've just put over Joe Jameson as, a great guy, which, we echo that as well about Joe. Seems like a great guy. My brother has said great things about him the whole time he's been involved. And I do wonder though, if you do want to talk any trash, Joe, in any way, shape, or form, is there any interest in, like, let's say hypothetically speaking, and I think this is how things are going to go personally. I'm a bit biased, obviously. I think you go in, you win your fight on Friday, you become the champion of, Barstool's Rough and Rowdy.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a big crossover appeal in like celebrity boxing and like influencer boxing and all this other kind of stuff. And you obviously have the skill set. I think you would like absolutely destroy just like your average TikToker. But like there's some guys that like, take it seriously. Obviously the big one being Jake Paul or like the Paul brothers KSI, but they're like professional. I mean, Jake especially is like an actual professional boxer now. Pretty wild. But the point being, do you have any like celebrities in mind or anyone that you would want to fight? Anyone you would like to beat up because like you could in a boxing fight?
This is gonna sound funny and sound crazy, but way back before he fought Aaron Carter, Lamar Odom, he came to our gym.
I heard about this.
Yes, he came to our gym, and I was way at home. I wasn't even close to the gym, and I think Brian called me. He was like, I'm not joking when I asked you this question. Do you want to spar with Lamar Odom? And I'm like, what? He's like, yes, like LA Lakers, Lamar Odom. Do you want to spar with him? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, all right, come here in the next whenever. So I get there. Awesome. I'm warming up. I'm getting warm. His trainer comes in before and he's like, hey, he watched me warm up for a minute. Hey, could you just not punch me in the face? Right, I get it. Fine. Maybe don't punch him in the body either. I'm like, all right. So there's nowhere to punch him, and his leg is an illegal guy. And then he's like, yeah, maybe just let him throw punches at you and just move around. I'm like, dude, buddy, you could have done that with a fucking punching bag, but all right. So So
Just keep your hands at your side.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, I'm just here, just fucking letting him punch at me. So after that, I know it wasn't his call, and I get it, but I would like to fight him. I would like to get my hands on him since I had to allow him to put his hands on me to make him feel good.
Yeah. That's dude.
Just guard up, maybe
Yeah.
put the left hand out to.
Yep.
That's about it.
Joe would knock his big ass down like a tree, timber it over in the
But
woods.
yeah, we're going. I'm already fighting all these big motherfuckers. I might as well fight a
Is Lamar Odom, like, okay, I know the guy gets a lot of flack, deservedly so, I get it, but like RIP Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter actually got off like 10 unanswered to the dome to like if they were even remotely the same size, Aaron Carter would have knocked him out. Like, I mean, that was just a complete mismatch. You would destroy Lamar Odom in a fight. It wouldn't be close.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Love to see that happen. We can maybe hopefully make that happen. Maybe someone will clip this one day after you win this title, and we'll just start tagging Lamar Odom and stuff because he's fought since Aaron Carter. He's fought other people.
I'm sure Barstool would pay him too. To come by their champion.
You guys live in the rumor mill. Start putting things out there.
Dude, this is what I do for a living.
advantage of the dirt
Right?
sheet.
I made headlines, and then it manifests
there.
into something more.
Local cop, Barstool hero challenges professional athletes to fights.
Yes.
Jameson, you're going to take my job here. You're already too good, and so many other. I'm not as good. And
I don't know, man.
stuff.
That was kind of a Leslie Knope headline. I don't know if you watched. It was a little dragged out there.
This is all I'm good at, Jameson. Please do not take this from me. All right, I'm not good at anything else. I can't have you taking this.
You can have the rumor mill.
Thank you. Joe, we were talking a little bit when you were having the connection issues, but and we've talked about like the professional wrestling ties and stuff. Is there any interest in appearing in that world?
Oh man, I mean that would obviously be unbelievable. That would be really, really cool if that could ever happen. That would be like
he acts like it couldn't happen tomorrow.
It would be the coolest fucking thing ever. I'd be so fucking down for that. That would be awesome. I would be any way, shape, or form, even just to be on the side and be the guy who gets someone slide tackled out of there and kicks me in the face. I would do that. That would be some fucking fun for me. I would be because I went to Jameson's first show at District. We were front row, and it was just, dude, the adrenaline I was gotten just from being in the front row and seeing one of my best friends out there. I was so fired up that whole time. So to be on the other side of that fence would be pretty damn cool.
Hey, and you know what? That's he just lives 10 minutes down the road from the factory here. So you never know. We could always get him in the ring, and Joe could be an Iron Savage before you know it.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I know there's like a 10-hour double AEW taping coming up in Georgia pretty soon.
I'll be there.
So
this weekend, not this week, but next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
They're in Nashville tomorrow.
Yeah. It's next week. They're in Georgia. So what we're saying is Joe's going to be on that show. He's going to be on the ROH show next to Jameson. And
Joe might come down from the ceiling, fucking stinger style.
Oh, I love it.
Absolutely love it. I know we're wrapping up here, so big final things, Joe. Anything to plug, and then final comments on this fight this weekend.
Honestly, just everybody go out and watch this Rough and Rowdy. The whole show is going to be an absolute fucking blast. It's going to be bangers from the beginning to the end. Once we get to my fight, it's going to be 5 rounds is what it's scheduled for, but there's a 0% chance we go 5 rounds. It's going to be 2 warriors going in there, throwing bombs, and I'm going to put that motherfucker to sleep, and that's just it.
Right, baby.
Jameson, do you have anything to plug with the Iron Savages? And they nearly tossed Anthony Bowens out of the ring. By the way,
have you guys been seeing those memes that people are making? Those are great.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Good stuff.
Anthony Bowens going back to his planet. That was fantastic.
I love the reaction when Bowens or when Caster hit him with the line and he just fell backwards on it. It's great telling of the
Lizzo's backup dancers. Come on now.
They
At
sold
least
it
somebody
well.
that's not getting canceled.
Jameson, let everybody know what you got going on.
Well, follow me on Instagram at Pose Malone. Follow me on Twitter at Pose Malone JJ. Jack Jameson, for those of you that can't figure it out. Big brain stuff over here. Iron Savages, Ring of Honor, tune in. We were on Collision. If you haven't watched, check it out yet. Great tag team match against the Acclaim. Watch us on Ring of Honor whenever you get the chance. And we have a new shirt out on shophonor.com. Sip the savage sauce. You can work out like a savage. All you got to do is sip the savage sauce.
Did you explain how this pairing came together? Because I think last time we had you on, you were just gotten injured.
Kind of,
but
it was real vague.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna press for more since I'm in the rumor mill here.
I told you, man. I got my ass kicked by them 3 times. They were pretty impressed that I kept coming back. We started going to the gym together. They were like, let's get a feel for this psycho. I took him to the gym. I showed him my secret stash of pre-workout that I make myself, which is the savage sauce. Nobody knows the ingredients. It's a more hidden formula than Coca-Cola. Nobody knows what's going on in there. But I promise you, you only sip it. People have been asking, can I chug savage sauce? You do not chug savage sauce. If you chug savage sauce, you will put a hole through your wall in the shape of your body.
Okay, what's a good meal that goes with savage sauce? Like what do you Bear and or Boulder and Bronson eat with the
that's
sauce?
different. I eat chicken and rice.
Okay.
Dirty Bulk Bronson might be eating a pizza, burger, donut.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and Beefcake Boulder, he spends a lot of time at Disney, so whatever they got at the stands that he's walking past is
Right.
Yeah, funnel cakes or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what? Those boys, man, there's something. Those are 2 big athletes. You got to keep them fed, and you got to keep them working out. If I don't have them burn 3,000 calories every single day, I can't get them to sleep.
Yeah, it's good to see
Do you
those
have to
guys.
tell them a bedtime story?
Oh, right.
Yeah, the 3 bears.
The 3 bears.
There you go.
Jameson, thank you as always. Joe, thank you for doing this. Thank both of you guys. Good luck this weekend. Joe, Jameson, good luck this weekend with ROH tapings again, guys. Thank you. Jameson, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you guys. Absolutely.
I've
Joey,
missed you.
You're gonna fucking kill this dude. Knock him the hell out. Take that title. Let Barstool know what's up. Tell Uncle Dave you want all the deals.
all the money, like we talked about, all that money.
Right. Money first and then fame. Money first.
I love it. I love it. Guys, check the links below. You can support them. All the ways to support them, all the ways to keep up with them are in the links below in the description. Joe, thank you again. Good luck this weekend. Jameson, thank you. Good luck this weekend. Guys, we'll be right back here on the spot. We're back. Big thank you. My hair is atrocious. Big thank you to Jameson and Joe for hanging out with us for about 40 minutes there. Everyone go check out Rough and Rowdy this weekend. Link is below. Watch Joe in his fight as he goes after the title. And then maybe we can set up a fight against Lamar Odom. And go check out Jameson Ryan on ROH television, AEW Collision. Good to see Jameson again. Good to talk to Joe. Great dude. So everyone, appreciate y'all tuning in today. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chats. Leave a thumbs up on the video. Thanks for subscribing, getting 100,000 subscribers to this here channel. Let's try to get Fightful Overbooked to 15K. That's what we're shooting for. You know, that doesn't seem too unreasonable, right? 15K for Fightful Overbooked. Let's get there. Guys, again, thank you. Go to fightfuloverbook.com. Check out all the great content we got there. In the Weeds tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. We got Alec Price on the show scheduled to join us. So hope everyone tunes into that. Thank you again, everyone. I appreciate it. Love y'all. Enjoy y'all's weekend. Talk to y'all next week.